All right. Uh, Guys, first of all, thank you for having me over. Uh, so, shall we just get started, or we expecting more? I see 19 people trickle in.
No, sir, I think we can begin. I
Acha.
think people
Okay.
will keep joining in. Yeah, that's fine. Not a
Acha.
problem.
All right. Anything that you guys would want to say before we get started, or
No, I think it's very nice to have you and take this session for us. That's really very kind of you, sir. Some of us have been tracking your videos and the material you posted on LinkedIn for quite some time, and I think Vardhaman was able to get in touch with you. So I think Vardhaman must have given you a brief of what we do and what we were
yeah.
expecting to gain out of the session. So yeah, I think other than that, we really looking forward to this.
All right. Okay. All right, guys. That's it. Hope you guys are also enjoying your winter break as well. Okay. Hope you guys are enjoying. So let me get started. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Take a second. Stop. Okay. Let me get share my screen. Let me know once my screen is visible. All right.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
दिख रही है? Okay. All right. So, guys, this is our topic: how to do fundamental analysis of multiple industries. Okay. Now, before we dive into the topic, let me first start by formally introducing myself. All right. Very quick brief about me. So, I was born and raised in Lucknow. So, I very typical education. I went on to do my engineering in Chennai, and then I did my MBA from SPJ in Bombay. Uh, and I'm a father of a 5-year-old. So my daughter, she keeps us busy. And So I started my career as a software developer, and then of course I did my MBA, and then I moved to strategy. Within strategy specifically, I focus in finance. So I have a total work ex of around 16 years now, and around 11 years of it is spread across US and Europe. In the last 8 years, I have been in New York with Accenture Strategy. And the role that I play within Accenture Strategy is I basically help companies make optimal investment decisions. So, for example, let's say if our clients they want to get into, let's say, a new market, or if they want to launch a new product, or let's say if they want to evaluate a potential acquisition, or let's say if they want to do a major transformation program. Okay, then my job is to help them with the strategy, and also assess the financial viability of that new venture that they are about to embark into. Okay, so that's broadly what I do in a nutshell. Okay, so that's me professionally. Now, personally, I'm very passionate about equity research and valuation. It has a, of course, it has a some kind of overlap with what I do professionally as well. Okay. So I publish. I've published a lot of my research. So I've published my research on Seeking Alpha as well. Now, of course, I publish my research only on YouTube and LinkedIn, and on my blog as well. And off late, I've only been focusing on making education videos on this topic. All right. So this is about me. Okay. So so the way I want to uh, the way I want to now. Any questions at all, guys? I don't want this to be a monologue, by the way.
No, sir, I think we're good to go.
All right. So, uh, ऐसा करते हैं कि see when I go through the topic, feel free to interrupt. Okay. As I said, it doesn't have to be a monologue. Whatever questions you have, no matter how fundamental they are, how basic, no question is a stupid question. Please feel free to interrupt me and ask me questions. Okay. If I feel कि I'm being thrown off tangent, then I may take your question towards the end, or probably outside the session. Okay, so probably towards the last 10 minutes, we can have a Q&A as well, but doesn't mean कि you cannot ask me questions during the session as well. Okay, all right. Now, with that said, now let me start on the topic. So the topic is how to do fundamental analysis of multiple industries. See, honestly, this is an extensive topic. Okay, so 1 hour or 1 hour or 90 minutes is not sufficient to uh, to cover this topic. Okay, so what I would be doing is I would only be scratching the surface, if you will. Okay, but my aim is कि I give you a framework. Okay, I give you a structured tariqa that you can use as a good starting point for doing fundamental analysis for multiple industries. ठीक है? So I'll repeat. मेरा aim है कि I give you guys a framework that you can use as a good starting point to do fundamental analysis of multiple industries. And as I said, I'll be only scratching the surface. ठीक है? So let me go ahead. All right. Now again, before we dive into the actual topic, let me walk you through the three pillars, okay, which are crucial to thoroughly researching and valuing a business. पहले वो देख लेते हैं. So the first, of course, is industry analysis. Okay, you got to understand the industry in which that business operates in. Okay. Then, of course, fundamental analysis itself. And then, of course, the last one is valuation. Okay. So within industry analysis, you got to understand what is the size of the market. Okay. If let's say that information has not been explicitly provided to you, then you got to estimate the market on your own, size of the market on your own. Not only what is the size of the market right now, but how big the market can become in the future. Okay. And estimating, just an aside topic, market size estimation is one of the favorite questions that you would get during your job interviews. If you guys sit for consulting or strategy interviews, later at some point. Anyway, so that's total addressable market is one. Then is of course segmentation. Okay, how the market is segmented. ठीक है. Tailwinds, headwinds, मैं इस पे ज्यादा टाइम नहीं स्पेंड कर रहा हूँ. I'm just giving you a quick walk through कि होता क्या क्या है. Okay? Tailwinds and headwinds क्या है इंडस्ट्री में, वो आपको देखने हैं, समझने हैं. Fourth, is the industry cyclical or structural? Okay. What's the nature of the competition in the industry? And last but not the least, value chain of the business model. Okay. So value chain is nothing but the key business activities that a company does to, let's say, make money. Okay. So in fact, value chain, think of the value chain as a double click into the business model. ठीक है, तो आपको ये समझना है. Yeah? So all of this is part of your industry analysis. Now in this session, we'll focus on fundamental analysis. Okay? So within fundamental analysis, what you got to do is you got to analyze the financial and operating ratios of the business. See, financial ratios, guys, they're largely, I'm using the word largely, they're largely same across different industries. Okay. But every industry would typically have different set of operating ratios. So operating ratios are specific to every industry. Okay. So in this session, what we'll do is we look at some key financial ratios for some different set of businesses from diverse industries. Okay. So which would be a good starting point for any fundamental analysis. So this is what we'll do in this session. Okay. Also in this session, what we'll do is I'll give you a framework that you can use to assess moat in any business. Okay. Moat का मतलब competitive advantage, that how a business differentiates vis-a-vis its competition. That is something also we'll touch upon in this session. Okay. Third is, of course, management quality, which is something we would not be discussing in this session, but management quality especially becomes very important to analyze for small companies. Is the management honest? Are they walking the talk, etc., etc. So corporate governance कैसा है? All of these things come under management quality, and especially if it's a small company, you should be spending an outsized or a disproportionate amount of time in management quality assessment. Okay, तो ये fundamental analysis का part हो गया मोटा मोटा. And the last is of course valuation. Valuation में of course there's relative valuation, reverse DCF, and of course you have three statement model वाला DCF. Okay. So with that said, let's dive into fundamentals. Okay. I see there is a chat में कोई question है. Is there a question or we can? Okay. All right. No. All right. Okay. See guys, when you land upon a business for the first time, right? Okay. When you land upon a business for the first time, what is it that you got to check for that business in, let's say, just 2 minutes or 5 minutes? Okay. What is it that you got to check for that business? Okay. So you got to get a sense of the size and the scale of the business. You got to get a sense of the size and the scale of the business. By size, what I mean is how big is the market cap? What is the sale of the company? कितना सेल कर रही है company? What is the margin? Pretty basic, easy peasy stuff. I'm sure most of you would understand this. Okay, so I'll bring this to life in a bit. Of course, when we look at different examples, so I'll bring all of this to life. This would not be a theory wala session. Okay. So ये तो size, and then talking about scale, how the company has scaled, or how the company has grown its revenue, okay, and how the profits have grown. So वो आपको check करना as part of the scale of the business. And then also, okay, you got to check something which I call here asset intensity. Okay. So in the balance sheet, you got to understand how big is the asset base. How big is the asset base? What portion of the total asset base is fixed? Okay. And what's the revenue the company is able to do of the total asset base? And what's the revenue the company is able to do of the fixed asset base? That is something you got to check. And of course, we'll understand the significance of all of this as we go along. Okay. And let's say if the company is very asset intensive, okay, then you got to understand how is the company funding its growth, how the company is funding its expansion, how the company is funding its big asset base. That is the immediate next question that should come to your mind. Okay. And then, of course, last but not the least, you got to check key if the business operations of the company, are they working capital intensive? Key if the business operations of the company, are they working capital intensive? Guys, do you understand what is working capital? If not, I'll be very happy to kind of give you a 1 minute walkthrough of working capital hota kya hai. Okay.
Yes, sir,
Sir,
that'll
for the
be.
first year, yeah,
मैं बता देता हूँ, कोई दिक्कत नहीं
Yeah.
है इन
yeah, yeah.
केस. ओके, वेरी सिंप्लीफाइड, नॉट अ टेक्स्ट बुक वाला अंडरस्टैंडिंग, एक सिंप्लीफाइड अंडरस्टैंडिंग. क्या होता है? थिंक ऑफ whenever you come across the word working capital, think of it as the money that's blocked in the business. पैसा जो फंसा होता है ना, उसको हम वर्किंग कैपिटल बोलते हैं. एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ. लेट्स से let's say if you let's say if you do a sale, you have a business, you make a sale, you book the sale, okay, you book the profits from the sale, but your customer has not paid you yet. The money has not come into the business yet, although you have booked the sale and the profits from the sale. That money is still lying with the customer. That money is stuck with the customer. तो पैसा वो फंसा हुआ है. Okay, so that money which is stuck with the customer, that is a part of your working capital. Let's take another example. Let's say if you're a retailer, ठीक है, तो you have uh, you have products sitting on your shelf that you have not sold yet. You have products sitting on your shelf that you've not sold yet. So the money that you as a retailer spent in procuring those products, the money that you spent in procuring those products, uh, that money is stuck in the form of inventory. Okay, that money is stuck in the form of inventory, and that money is also a part of your working capital. Okay, so that's another way to understand, or rather another aspect of working capital. तो जब भी पैसा फंसा होने की बात होती है ना, money is blocked or it's stuck, then you think of it as working capital. Is it clear, guys? बहुत layman तरीके से, I'm just trying to give you very easy peasy examples, not a textbook definition. Okay, all right. Silence is assent. Okay, but feel free to stop me if something is not clear. Of course, I'll be happy to get into details. Okay, आगे बढ़े, guys. Okay. Yep. All right. Let's move forward. Okay. So let's now do a small exercise, if you will. Okay. So what I have on this page is I have some prominent company names listed from different industries in India. Okay. So what we'll do now is, and I want you guys to participate in this exercise as well. Okay. So what we'll do now is uh, we will we will try to get a sense of the size and scale of all these different businesses. Okay. We'll try to get a sense of size and scale of all these different businesses, and also we'll pull some notable financial characteristics of these businesses as well. Okay, when I say notable financial characteristics, what I mean is I'm talking about three characteristics. Okay, one is growth, the other is margin, third is capital intensity. अभी समझ में आ जाएगा मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ. I'm talking about these three business characteristics, something that we'll pull for all these businesses, and then we'll try to uncover some key insights relating to that business and industry. Okay. So let's start with Airtel, which is the first company that we have in this list. So let me go over to screener, and I encourage you guys to pull up your screener as well. As I said, I want you guys to participate to the extent possible. तो मेरे को स्क्रीनर मैं खोलता हूँ, एक सेकेंड. हाँ, लेट मी शेयर माय एंटायर स्क्रीन गाइस, उससे इजी हो जाएगा. इज माय स्क्रीन विजिबल गाइस?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, तो यू कैन सी भारती एयरटेल राइट?
Yes, yes.
ठीक है, ऑलराइट. By the way, this is getting recorded, right? I just want to make sure that this is getting recorded. Yeah, it is. All right. Okay. So, Bharti Airtel, okay. Of course, you guys, of course, would be very familiar with this company. So, it has a market cap of just under 13 lakh CR. Okay, that's the market cap. Okay. अभी हम just high in the sky analysis कर रहे हैं, guys. Okay. So, 13th, just under 13th lakh CR market cap है. Let's move forward. What is the sale of this company? 1 lakh 73,000 CR. So, so how big is the market cap vis-a-vis the revenue, vis-a-vis the sale? Can you guys do that
Like
math?
10 से 15%.
हाँ, मतलब कितना गुना हो गया? How many times?
um
approximately
8x.
7
10 to
times.
8 times price to sales, I think.
हाँ, मतलब it's 8-9 times, right? If you do the math,
Yeah.
market cap is okay.
8 times.
Okay. So this gives us a sense of the how big is the market cap vis-a-vis the sale. Okay. Now let me tell you, this metric, market cap to sale, is a metric which I'm just giving you some extra information, probably not needed, but just giving you it anyway. Market cap to sale is, let's say, not a metric which strictly conforms to academic literature. Okay. And of course, we can get into why it doesn't conform to academic literature. वो भी हम cover कर सकते हैं. लेकिन, but still, having said that, still it's a very widely used metric by analysts and investors alike. ठीक है. So anyways, तो हमें एक sense मिल गया how big is the market cap vis-a-vis the sale. Okay. And then look at the freakingly high operating margin. Operating margin is EBITDA, 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 earnings before interest, tax, and depreciation. That is the operating profit. Like 50%, guys, is crazy off the roof operating margin. Okay. Now, of course, depreciation is high as well, and we can get into why later. Okay. But larger point is it's a very high operating margin industry. Okay. Let's move forward. So this is the size of the business. Okay. If we talk about the scale of the business, how the business scaled. Okay. Look at the last 5 years. CL has grown 15%, has compounded at the rate of 15% per annum. Okay. Profit, the CAGR for profit growth has far exceeded the sales growth. This is like very good, right? Ideal for any company, right? The profit growth has exceeded the sales growth. Okay. Look at the stock price. Okay. 33% back in 27, 28, when Geo came to the scene. I do not remember the exact year, but when Geo came into the scene, people called that it is doomsday for Airtel. Okay. At least it doesn't seem to be the case, right? Okay. Anyone who would have, let's say, invested their money in Airtel back then would, of course, would have made a lot of money. Just in a side topic, a side point. Okay. Uh, so, so, so anyways, this is how the business has scaled. Now let's move forward. Let's look at the balance sheet. Okay. Now, I know this, we will not be covering financial statements in detail, but let me just tell you balance sheet mein, for those who do not know, balance sheet mein, there is something called total liabilities. Okay. Think of this as a source of fund for a business, total liabilities. And then there is total assets. Think of this as the application of funds. ठीक है, एक एसेट बेस है और एक लाइबिलिटी का बेस है. ओके. तो व्हाट इज द टोटल एसेट बेस फॉर दिस कंपनी? Asset base for this company is over 5 lakh, or 5 lakh
5
CR.
lakh crores.
Sorry.
5 lakh CR.
Huh. Of the total asset base, what portion is fixed? Fixed is under 4 lakh CR. Okay. 4
Yep.
lakh CR
Mhm.
fixed है. और when I say fixed, fixed का मतलब क्या होता है? If I just double click into fixed assets, so land, buildings, machinery, telecom equipment, telecom towers, okay, even intangibles, intangible asset हो गया, spectrum जो भी हो गया, all of that is a part of fixed asset. Okay, that comes under this 3,88,000 CR. Okay. Now, can we compare, let's compare this fixed asset base with the sale. Okay. So this is just under 4 lakh CR and this is under 2 lakh CR, the sale. Okay. So what it means is कि for every rupee of asset fixed asset base, for every rupee of fixed asset base, Airtel makes less than 50 paise in revenue. ये बोल सकते हैं, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So what does it tell you? If Airtel is hardly making a rupee or not even making 50 paise for every rupee of investment in their fixed asset, okay, what does it tell you? Does it tell you that
Like
this
that.
is a very asset intensive business? Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, that's what it tells you, right? I know भी हमने कुछ रिलेटिव देखा नहीं है, सो आइसोलेशन में आप मेट्रिक के बारे में कुछ बोल नहीं सकते, लेकिन स्टिल you are putting 1 rupee in fixed asset is yielding less than 50 paise in your sale. So, which means is it's a very asset intensive business, guys, right? And ideally, we should be comparing sales not with the not with the fixed asset base, but with the total gross block. ये fixed asset base है ना, ये net होता है, बहुत nuances में नहीं जाते हैं, लेकिन if I kind of double click into fixed asset, तो उसमें there is an item called gross block as well. Gross block is 5,26,000 CR. Yeah. Ideally, we should be comparing the sale with the gross block. Let me spend 30 seconds on the difference between fixed asset and the gross block. Very layman तरीके से समझते हैं. Gross block क्या है? Think of gross block uh, as a historical cost, मतलब as the original investment done by this company on land, building, telecom towers, equipment, spectrum, etc., etc. Think of this as the original investment. ठीक है? And think of these fixed asset as the rupee value of the remaining useful life of those fixed assets. I'll repeat. Think of these fixed assets as the rupee value of the remaining useful life of those land, building, telecom towers, spectrum, etc., etc. तो ये एक डिफरेंस है. तो ग्रॉस ब्लॉक पूरा का पूरा इन्वेस्टमेंट होता है, ओरिजिनल इन्वेस्टमेंट, हिस्टोरिकल कॉस्ट, और एक यूजफुल लाइफ का कॉन्सेप्ट इसमें आ जाता है. ओके. एनीवेज,
All right.
so regardless of what you compare the sale with, you could compare the sale, of course, ideally with gross block, but regardless of whether you compare it with fixed assets or the gross block, you come to conclusion that this is an asset heavy business. That should be our takeaway. All right, guys. Okay. Now let's move forward. If you recall, what I'd said is whenever you find that a business is asset intensive, the next question that should pop up in your mind is how this company is funding that asset base. वो asset base fund कैसे कर रहा है? Okay, पैसा कहाँ से आ रहा है? Okay, let's go to the cash flow statement. Cash flow statement में एक बार पहले let's look at cash flow from investing. Okay, if you look at the cash flow from investing, okay, look at the fixed asset purchase. You look at this, man. Every year they are, let's say, deploying 40,000 or 30,000 CR worth of money, probably in buying more telecom towers or what have you. Okay, because Airtel, see, this is very, as we saw, this is a very asset heavy industry, right? Abhi 5G hai, pehle 4G tha, before that 3G, 2G, probably there'll be a 6G in the time to come. So it's a very
Okay.
asset heavy industry. So they have to make such heavy investments every year, right? Okay. Now, as I said, let's find out how they're funding this asset base. Okay. So let's go to cash flow from financing, how they're financing that asset base. Okay. If you see proceeds from borrowing. Okay. So every year, okay, they are forced to take a lot of udhari, take a lot of borrowing from the bank or from wherever. So every year they're funding their capex, their investments through borrowing, through udhari. Okay, इसका ये मतलब है. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. एक चीज और चेक करते हैं before we go on to our PowerPoint and we kind of conclude what we saw. Okay. And guys, I'm going somewhere with this. Okay. Whenever you guys look at the cash flow statement, no, मैंने एक चीज और बोली थी कि we got to check the working capital intensity of the business operations of the company. तो वो भी चेक कर लेते हैं एक बार. Okay. So what you got to do is, for any company, okay, you look at the net profitability in your mind, you sum up the net profitability of that company for, let's say, the last 4 years or 5 years. Okay. And then you compare the cumulative net profitability, okay, with the cumulative cash flow from operations for the same period. I repeat, you compute the net profitability, the cumulative net profitability, let's say over a period of 5 years, and compare it with the cumulative cash flow from operations over the same period. Ideally,
This is significantly higher than the net profit
yes,
that we are getting
yes, yes.
because of the depreciation, I think.
See, हो क्या रहा है? See, if it was the other way around, ना, अगर net profitability was, let's say, higher, if the net profitability was, let's say, higher than the cumulative cash flow from operations, then इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? इसका मतलब they are booking profits aggressively, right? Had it been the other way around.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If they were booking profits aggressively, इसका मतलब क्या है कि very likely the money is getting stuck in working capital. जो वर्किंग कैपिटल की हमने डेफिनेशन समझी थी कि पैसा फंसा हुआ है,
Mm-hmm.
यू बुक्ड अ सेल लेकिन शायद पैसा
Correct.
आया ही नहीं धंधे में. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Had it been the
Got
other
it,
way
sir. Got
around,
it.
had it been the other way around, नेट प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी अगर ज्यादा होती कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम ऑपरेशन से, इसका मतलब अ, कहीं पैसा फंस रहा है, लेकिन इट्स
Mm.
डजंट सीम टू बी द केस फॉर एयरटेल. Okay? So what we can
Correct.
conclude is that although this is an asset intensive business, but this is not a working capital intensive business. That's
Capital
the
intensive
conclusion.
business.
Okay. All right.
Fair.
Okay. So now let's go back to our PowerPoint slide. All right. मेरी स्लाइड दिख रही है, राइट गाइस? हाँ.
Yes, sir.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Now let's conclude what we saw for Airtel. So what we saw is कि this is a high margin business, right? Margin तो बहुत high है. If you talk about the capital
Uh-huh.
intensity, when I say capital, the word capital, what I mean is both the asset base plus working capital. Okay. तो capital intensity की अगर बात करते हैं, so yeah, this is a high asset intensive business that we saw, and in bulk it is funded by debt. This is what we saw, right, guys?
Yeah, huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what should be the question in your mind? Is the margin, look at the question that I have here, is the margin high enough? Is the margin high enough to offset the adverse impact of very high asset intensity? क्या मार्जिन इतना हाई है to negate the adverse impact of the high asset intensity? I'm not going to answer that question right now, but I'm certainly going to answer that question, let's say 10-15 minutes from now. Okay. But this is the question that should come to your mind, guys. Probably you guys know some of you may know the answer already. Okay. But for those who don't, I'm going to answer it for you in 10-15 minutes from now. See, this business, no Airtel, no pun intended, this operates at the opposite ends of the spectrum. In one end, it has very high margin, so something is very good. At the other end of the spectrum, it has very high asset intensity. Okay? एक चीज बहुत
Yeah.
अच्छी, एक चीज बहुत खराब. समझ रहे हो? तो हमें
Yep.
देखनी है कि
Yes, sir.
क्या वो अच्छी चीज ऑफसेट कर रही है खराब चीज को कि नहीं. दैट इज समथिंग वी लुक इन अ बिट. ठीक है?
Okay, okay.
ऑलराइट. तो और ग्रोथ तो हमने देख ली, सो आई एम नॉट स्पेंडिंग टाइम हियर. ओके. Let's move forward. Let's look at another business from a different industry. And guys, I am going somewhere with all of this. Okay. So let's look at Narayana Hrudale, okay, which is a hospital. Okay. Let me again flip back to screener. Acha. So let's do the same drill, guys. Okay. 38,000 market cap. All right. Market cap is 38,000. Okay. Let's move forward. What's the total last financial year का sale? 5,500, right?
5,000.
तो कितना हो
Hmm.
गया? 6 times हो गया, right? Almost. Market cap is
Yep.
6 times around.
Uh,
6, 7, 6,
Price to
approximately
sales
six and
is
a half
around
correct.
6,
probably.
7, sir.
हाँ. Okay.
Yeah.
हाँ, precise maths पे जाता ही नहीं है, but higher in the sky math. Okay. Look at the operating margin. Look at the crazy operating margin expansion, like 9, 10, 11, 12%. And now the margin expanded to 20 to
24.
24%. Of
Hmm.
course, we can get into details later कि वो कैसा क्यों हुआ, लेकिन अभी मैं उसको साइड स्टेप कर रहा हूँ. Okay. 24 margin is very good. Okay. Let me just move forward. Let's look at how the business has scaled over time. Okay. Over the last 5 years, the sale has compounded as 12%. Okay. In fact, 10 year the sale has compounded at 15%. Very good. And look at how the profits have compounded over the same period. The profit, as we saw, margin expansion say, the profit growth has far exceeded the sales growth. Okay. And so the market also rewarded this company with a very good stock price, shareholder रिटर्न एज वेल. ठीक है, तो ये तो हो गया इनके कैसे बिजनेस ने स्केल किया है. लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड. लेट्स लुक एट द बैलेंस शीट. बैलेंस शीट में अगेन सेम ड्रिल. लेट्स लुक एट द फिक्स्ड एसेट बेस. कितना फिक्स्ड एसेट बेस है? 4300, राइट? इस 4300 के एसेट बेस में व्हाट इज द सेल?
29.
5500.
5,500.
Hmm.
तो रफली
Around 1.2.
yeah. So roughly for every rupee of asset base, or fixed asset base rather, okay, they are making 1.1 or 1.2 rupees of sale. ठीक है. अगर ग्रॉस ब्लॉक से भी
Hmm.
कंपेयर करो तो काइंड ऑफ सिमिलर ही होगा. इफ यू लुक कंपेयर इट द ग्रॉस ब्लॉक, ओके, तो काइंड ऑफ 1 रुपी के अंदर चला जाता है. सो एनी विच वेज लार्जर
Okay.
पॉइंट क्या हुआ? Again, this suggests still this is a
Close
asset
by one.
intensive business. Probably
Hmm.
not as asset intensive as Airtel. Airtel is very asset intensive, but even this hospital is an asset intensive business. Relatively कम है
Got it.
Airtel से, but this is asset intensive, guys, right?
Hmm.
कि
Got it.
1 रुपया आप फिजिकल एसेट में लगा रहे हो, आपको 1 रुपये 20 पैसे, 1 रुपये 10 पैसे मिल रहा है. That's sale, right? That's what it means, right,
Hmm.
guys?
Hmm. Yep.
Correct, correct.
Right. Let's move forward. Let's move forward. So again, as I said, if it's an asset intensive business, what is that you got to check, guys? Look at,
How are they funding their
yeah.
assets?
तो हमें ये तो दिख गया कि fixed asset purchase, they are making a lot of fixed asset purchases every year in cash flow from investing. Let's see, yes, to your point, I think it was Vardhaman, how they are funding those or financing those, this asset base. Let's look at cash flow from financing. Okay. Let's see this proceeds from borrowing. Okay. So what it suggests is that in part, they are funding their capex, they are funding their investments, or they are funding their asset base in part through borrowings. Also, they're repaying a lot of their borrowings as well. Okay. But certainly in part, they're funding their asset base through borrowings. Okay. All right.
Got it.
All right. Now, एक चीज और, वर्किंग कैपिटल भी चेक कर लेते हैं वेरी क्विकली. Let's just compare. Same drill, guys. Let's total up the net profitability over the last, let's say, 5 years. Let's not do any precise math. We are just doing high in the sky, mota maths. Okay. So this is
Okay.
the net profitability. What would be 1800? कितना हो गया?
Around 2,500.
हाँ, 2500 हो गया. Okay. And now let's compare it with the cash flow from operations for the same period. Okay. Without totaling up any cash flow from operations, we can see the cash flow from operations is far exceeding the net profitability. इसका मतलब, like Airtel, they also do not seem to have a working capital problem. ठीक है. They don't have any
Yeah.
working capital issues in their business. ठीक है. एंड टिपिकली हॉस्पिटल्स में वर्किंग कैपिटल इशू नहीं होता है. किसी भी हॉस्पिटल के लिए चेक कर लो, टिपिकली एक अच्छे हॉस्पिटल के लिए. ऑलराइट, सो नाउ लेट्स अगेन go back to the PowerPoint. Let's conclude what we saw. Yeah. So I would not say, I think this is a, let me not say this is a low margin. I think this is a typo. I think it's a very decent, good margin, in fact. So this is a typo. I apologize. So I think this is a decent, good margin business, Narayana. Okay. Talk about capital intensity. I'm sorry. I think I may have, just give me 1 second. Just 1 second. Let me just stop sharing. मैं किसी और बिजनेस का वहां पे दिखा रहा हूं, इसलिए just 1 second. एक सेकेंड. I may have messed this up. Okay. All right. So I'll clear the mess later, but अभी के लिए मैं दिखा देता हूँ क्या है. Oh man. Okay. Anyways, guys, look at this. Just ignore. Is my
Yeah,
screen
7x.
visible नहीं होगी ना? Okay. Just 1 second. Okay. Is my
Yeah,
screen
so
visible now?
yeah.
Guys, please ignore ये एफएमसीजी के बिलो जो भी लिखा है. Just look at this line item. ये वाला, Narayana वाला. Okay? So what we saw, Narayana is a high margin business, right? Okay, it's
Yep.
a decent to high margin business. What we
Mhm.
also saw that it's a high capital intensity or high asset intensity business overall, funded by debt. Okay, plus I have something they are also funding their debt through internal accruals as well. Because if you recall, we saw they are also paring down their debt as well. They are they are repaying a lot of the borrowings as well. Okay, in fact, if you go back in time, you would see in the cash flow statement when they do not have any major capex investment coming up, then what they do is they pare down their debt, any debt that they have on their books. Cash flow statement se wo dikh raha hai. So my point being, they're funding their high asset base not only by debt but by internal accruals, that is through their own money as well. Okay, और अभी नेगेटिव वर्किंग कैपिटल में नहीं जाते. It's just that they don't have a working capital problem. Okay. So any which ways, so what is the question that comes to our mind? The question that comes to our mind is, okay, again, is margin high enough to offset the adverse impact of the high asset intensity? Again, same question, right, that we had for Airtel? Guys,
Yeah,
सेम
got it, sir.
क्वेश्चन. सो
Same
अगेन ये
question.
क्वेश्चन बाद में आंसर करेंगे. अब लेट्स से अब जल्दी से नेस्ले और ये सब देख लेते हैं. लेट मी जस्ट ये रिमूव कर लूं. सॉरी, आई थिंक आई मे messed up the animation yesterday when I was creating this last night. Okay, so let's look at कंज्यूमर बिजनेसेस. नेस्ले और बीकाजी देख लेते हैं. Okay, sorry. You guys can see Nestle. All right.
Yes, sir.
Same drill. 250,000 market cap. Okay.
Yeah,
Now I'll be a little more quick. Sale कितना है? 20,000, like 20 times, right? 20 times market cap is 20 times sale, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Look
yeah,
at
10 to
the
15.
yeah, yeah, 10. Yeah, exactly 10, not 50, 20. You're right. Okay, but still more than 10. Operating margin, what, 23,
Yeah,
24%. Look at the consistency in the operating margin. Very good operating margin. Okay.
yep,
Let's move forward. Let's look at how the business scaled. Last 5 years, the sale has compounded 10%, profit has compounded only 9%, and the stock price really hasn't done anything at all over the last 5 years. Okay? Last 5 years, stock price hasn't
Yep.
done anything. In fact,
Mhm.
rather you'll park your money in FD and earn a higher return, right? You invest in equities
Yep.
because you need a higher return. Okay, that is
yep,
what we understand. Let's move forward. Let's very quickly look at the balance sheet. Fixed asset base कितना बड़ा है? 5,500 fixed asset base. Let's
yeah.
compare it with sale.
Around four
Three and
times.
yeah, 3.5, 4 times. 4 times हो गया. So
Yeah,
what does it tell you? This is doesn't seem to be
Which
an asset heavy business.
yeah,
This doesn't seem to be an asset heavy business, right? Okay. Let's
Yep.
let's look at working capital really quick as well. If we total up, if we total up profitability, okay. So I think profitability would be in close ballpark with the cash flow from operations over the same period. So I think check करने की जरूरत नहीं है. It's in a close ballpark. I think cash flow is exceeding the
Okay.
net profitability
Mhm.
by a small margin.
Okay.
So this business doesn't have a working capital problem. I know I'm going fast, guys. Okay, because we still have a lot of ground to cover. Okay,
Got it.
let's go to the PowerPoint. तो अभी हमने क्या देखा? और आई नो वी जस्ट चेक्ड नेस्ले, लेकिन हमने क्या देखा नेस्ले के लिए? इनफैक्ट सेम थिंग फॉर बीकाजी एज वेल. Okay, I know we didn't check BKG, but both Nestle and BKG, if you see, they are high margin business. Consumer business है, FMCG business है, they are high margin business. Asset intensity is low. Okay, they are not as asset heavy as Airtel and Narayan, not at all. Okay, right.
Yep.
I know we have not checked Zydus, but we'll come to Zydus. I'm saving the good thing for the last. वो हम देखेंगे. Okay, towards the end. Okay,
Okay. Got it.
okay. But what we do see is, so the question that should come to your mind is, कि यार why are we why there was suboptimal stock returns from Nestle? Nestle say, why the market delivered on only suboptimal stock returns for Nestle? Do you guys want to take a stab at that? I know it's a very weird thing to
Maybe
ask
the
you.
growth in the profitability.
Sorry?
Like in the long run, the stock price always mimics the growth in the net profit or earnings.
See, देखो see क्या है see क्या है कि any business ना, I know I'm just only focusing on margin capital intensity, okay, but you know what the market or the street looks for? Three things: growth, growth. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
I'll say two things broadly: growth and a combination of margin and capital intensity. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so consumer businesses like Nestle and BKG or Zydus, I know भी हम Zydus की बात नहीं कर रहे हैं, करेंगे, but let's talking about Nestle. Nestle did deliver on margin, check. It did deliver on capital intensity, check. Okay, so it
Mm-hmm.
did very well in a combination of market and capital intensity. It did very well, box checked. But we saw it did not do well on growth, right?
Yep. Stagnating.
Yeah, stagnant. If you think about it, guys, Nestle is very well penetrated in all the Indian households. I think Nestle has 95% penetration in Indian households. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Yeah, yeah,
there is very less room for future growth. अगर growth आएगा
correct.
नहीं, okay,
Mm.
so
Got it.
of course the market is not going to reward you, right? So market only doesn't look for margin and capital intensity combination. It also looks for growth as well. तो growth तो missing है, right? See, if I were to oversimplify, guys, if I were to oversimplify, okay, shareholder return is a function of growth, and a combination of market and capital intensity. Okay, growth है नहीं, okay, तो इसलिए, और market और capital intensity सही है लेकिन growth नहीं है, तो इसलिए Nestle has not been rewarded. Okay, hope guys you get that understanding, right? I know this is
Yeah, yeah.
oversimplification, but this oversimplification is important. This is very fundamental. Okay, all right. So Zydus अभी हम थोड़ी टाइम में कवर करेंगे. Okay, let's look at retail. Let's look at retail. Within retail, let's look at Avenue Supermarts. Two lakh 50,000 CR है Avenue Supermarts, right? Okay.
Yep.
Same drill very quickly. 60,000 CR is the sale. What get the four times?
Four times.
Four times
Yeah,
sale हो गया. Four times sale हो गया, right? Look at the margin.
yeah, yeah.
I know the margin is low, but look at the consistency in operating margin. Look at the consistency, 6, 7, 8%, right? Operating
Variability is very
margin.
less.
Sorry?
Variability of margins is very
Yeah,
less in
absolutely.
last
Yeah,
10 years.
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Let's look at the scale. 5 years or 10 years, 19%. That's how the sales has scaled. Profit also pretty much has scaled very well. Okay. But again, stock prices is 7%. Stock
Mm-hmm.
price is only 7%
Yeah,
in DMart. Okay. Right. Let's look at the asset base. Fixed asset base कितना है? 16,000, right?
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Sale is 60,000.
Around four times.
Yeah.
Yeah, three and a half, four times, whatever.
Four
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
times.
Four times. Yeah, sorry, four times. You're right. Four times. Okay. So what I tell you, this is a relatively asset light business, right? Not, or certainly not, let me not use the word asset light, but this is not an asset heavy business, right?
Yeah,
इतना
Okay.
तो पता लग गया. Margin कम है,
Mm.
margin is very low, but this is an asset, not an asset heavy business. इतना तो समझ में आ रहा है.
Yep.
Let's
Yep.
very quickly look at the
yeah,
working capital. Same drill. Total up net profitability, let's say for the last 5 years. Okay. Compare it with the cash flow from operations. Okay. We can comfortably say that cash flow from operations cumulatively, they are far exceeding the net profitability. So working capital doesn't seem to be a problem for Avenue Supermarts. Okay.
mm, yeah,
Uh, एक चीज और चेक कर लेते हैं, although we don't have to, but I'll check any which ways. Okay. DMart has been expanding very aggressively. Okay. Although this is not an asset heavy business. Okay. But look at the fixed asset purchases. Every year, they have been adding more and more number of stores every year. Okay. And now let's see how they're funding though that asset base. Okay. If you see, proceed from borrowing is absent. Although they have been investing, they have been increasing their asset base. Sorry. Okay. But they have not been borrowing money. Look at this. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? अपने खुद के पैसे
Internal
से they are
accruals.
funding their asset base. I know they are not an asset heavy business. वो तो हमने establish कर लिया. Okay. But still they are investing in stores, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So वो जो स्टोर से जो एक्सपेंशन कर रहे हैं, they are not they are expanding not through उधारी but through their own money. That's the conclusion. ठीक है guys?
Yep.
Very interesting, right? Let's go to the
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going somewhere with this. When I summarize, then probably you'll appreciate this exercise that we are doing now. I know we are being very tactical, okay, but I'll summarize and link everything together towards the end. Okay.
Got it.
All right. Let's look at summarize करते हैं रिटेल. यार मैंने ये मिक्स कर दिया है मेरे ख्याल से. ओके, एक सेकंड यार. व्हाट डिड आई डू? एक सेकंड. Probably I was too sleepy when I was doing this last night, so I didn't do a good job at the animation. Okay. So, all right. So, Avani Supermarts, what we saw is low margin business है.
Hmm.
Business तो low margin है,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Capital
Yeah.
intensity क्या है? Low capital intensity है.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
also we saw the expansion is funded by internal accruals. That's our takeaway. I'm going to stop there. ठीक है?
Yep.
That's where I'm going to stop. And of course, we'll revisit this later. Okay. Let's move forward. Okay. Now let's look at Zomato. Okay. Let's look at Zomato.
Okay.
What's the market cap, guys? 2,70,000, right?
Plus all three. Hmm.
आगे बढ़ते हैं. Sale.
20K.
But 10, 15
20,
times.
14. Yeah, 10, 15 times.
14 times.
Mm-hmm.
Margin is absent. 2,
Yeah.
3% now. Probably they are showing some profitability, EBITDA profitability, but largely it
FD
was absent.
returns. But yeah.
Sorry?
Like
Okay.
they are mostly earning through FDs and all right now.
FD.
Yeah, like whatever money that they got
अच्छा.
from their IPO proceeds.
हाँ, अच्छा, other income की बात. You're talking about, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The other income, of course, the surplus cash they put in a bank and they earn some interest of that, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So look at the scale. Of course, a young company, relatively young company, the scaling like anything, right? Okay.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
you all you guys know,
Yeah.
I don't need to spend time on it, right? Okay. तो स्केल कर
Mm-hmm.
रही है कंपनी. प्रॉफिट भी धीरे धीरे आ रहे हैं शायद. स्टॉक प्राइस ऑफ कोर्स, when I know Zomato listed 3 years ago or 4 years ago, whenever it listed, a lot of LinkedIn influencers and people influencers they said ki they said probably this company is overvalued, would not do well, but 3 years the stock price has delivered 68% compounded returns, right? Okay, so very good for this internet business in India. Okay, आगे बढ़ जाते हैं. एसेट बेस से कंपेयर करते हैं. फिक्स एसेट बेस कितना है? 9,500, राइट?
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
तो 2 times हो गया, राइट? सेल इज टू
Two
टाइम्स द
times.
फिक्स एसेट बेस.
Yeah.
तो relatively I would say I would not call it an asset heavy business. Okay? और मेरे ख्याल से और I वर्किंग कैपिटल भी चेक कर सकते हैं, बट इन द एसेंस ऑफ टाइम लेट्स जस्ट गो टू द पावर पॉइंट स्लाइड. ओके, लेट्स जस्ट कंक्लूड व्हाट वी सॉ. इफ वी स्टार्ट चेक एवरीथिंग देन बहुत टाइम लग जाएगा मुझे लग रहा है. लेट्स सी व्हाट वी सॉ. What we saw, Zomato is a low margin business, right? At least right now it's a low margin business right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Capital intensity भी low है.
Mm-hmm.
Relatively
Yep.
low है, right? It's not high, it's
Uh-huh.
relatively low.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what we saw. Again, I'm going to come back to this. Please hold on to this. Okay, let me move forward. Okay, uh, let's look at TCS. Sorry, Let's look at TCS. What's the market cap? Less than 12,000 CR, right?
Yep.
12 lakhs here, yeah.
Was sale? What? So market
Six
cap is
times,
four
I think.
times. Market cap is four times sale, right?
Four times,
Mhm.
4 times.
Okay. Look at the freakingly consistent 26-27% margin. Very consistent, right? Very consistent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, over the last 5 years, they have scaled only by 10%. Profit has scaled by 8%. And there has been actually no growth in stock price at all. In fact, even I would say even last 10 years, they did not deliver on a lot of stock price growth. Okay.
Okay.
So begs the question, uh, and working capital भी check कर सकते हैं, but let me tell you, they don't have a working capital problem. Okay. So if I were to go back to this PowerPoint, हमने क्या देखा? हमने देखा कि margin high है TCS का, right? Margin very high. Asset intensity low है. It's very low asset intensive business.
Mhm.
It's kind of ticking the box in terms of margin. It's also ticking the box in terms of capital intensity. Okay. Despite
Yep.
high margin, low capital intensity, why is the stock price declining? The answer is
Same
growth is
thing, raw
absent.
growth stagnating.
Growth is, yeah, it's
Yep.
absent. In fact, now what is happening? Because of the threat of AI, chat GPT, perplexities of
Mhm.
the world, okay? So there is a negative sentiment around services and consulting industry in general, right? Okay.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yep.
analysts are expecting कि future में भी growth नहीं आएगा, इतना ज़्यादा नहीं आएगा. That's evident in the stock price. मार्केट को सिर्फ मार्जिन और कैपिटल इंटेंसिटी नहीं चाहिए, मार्केट को ग्रोथ भी चाहिए, राइट? वो एब्सेंट है.
Yep.
Okay. Let's move forward. Let's look at steel pipes. Let's look at APL Apollo. APL Apollo is a company which makes steel pipes. Okay, 50,000 CR का market cap.
Yep.
So 2.5 times, right?
4.5. Yeah.
Market cap, operating margin is 6-7%. It's a
Oh, nice.
commodity business at the end of the day. 6-7%
Yep.
operating
Yep.
margin. Look at how they have scaled, guys, both in terms of sale and
Nice.
profit growth. And look at the stock price growth. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I would not leave any loose ends. I'll summarize everything so you get answers to all the questions that you may have right now. Any which ways, let's look at the balance sheet. Fixed asset base is what? 4,000, under 4,000.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Sale कितना है? तो 5 times, right?
Mhm.
Sale is 5 times your fixed asset base.
Yep.
So it's a relatively looks like an asset light business, right? Or let's not use the word asset light. It's not an asset heavy business, right? Low margin and not asset heavy. It's
Right.
a
Right. Right.
asset efficient business, if I can use that word. It's an asset efficient business. Okay.
Got it.
वर्किंग कैपिटल भी अगर जल्दी जल्दी देख लो, लास्ट 5 years का total up net profit over the last 5 years, compare it with the,
The 30,000.
yeah, cash flow from operations over the last 5 years is far exceeding the net profitability.
Yeah. True.
So they don't have any working capital problem. They are cash rich,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
No money is getting stuck in working capital.
Uh,
अब एक कंपनी और देख लेते हैं उसी इंडस्ट्री में, हरिओम. बिफोर वी गो टू द पावर पॉइंट, हरिओम इज अ
okay.
वेरी स्मॉल कंपनी. 1,000 का मार्केट कैप.
7 CR. Okay.
ओके. 1,000 का मार्केट कैप. Sale is what? 1,600. So sale
More
is
than
only 1.6 times, less than 2 times market cap, right? So sale and market cap are pretty comparable, right?
this is more than market cap, I guess.
Sorry, you're
Yeah.
right. You're right. You're right. I apologize. I take back what I said. You're right. Okay. So looks undervalued, right? From that metric.
True.
एक तरीके से undervalued है ना, एक तरीके से.
Yep. 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 Yep.
And look at the
But
margin, 10, 11, 12,
low.
13%. So
Got
अगर
it.
if I just stop here, same company, Hariom is in the same space. By just comparing the market cap to sale, okay, looks undervalued vis-a-vis एपीएल अपोलो में वी सॉ कि
हाँ
10
हाँ
टाइम्स या 5 टाइम्स जो भी था मार्केट कैप
टाइम
vis-a-vis
फाइव
सेल,
टाइम्स
but here market cap is lower than sale.
फाइव टाइम्स
And
ट्रू
Hariom, small company, but look at the very high margin, is delivering a higher margin than APL Apollo. APL Apollo is the poster
या
boy in this industry. लेकिन Hariom
हम्म
Pipe is delivering a much higher margin than APL Apollo. तो क्या करें? पैसा डाल दें
ट्रू
इसमें? पैसा डाल दें because everything
we'll
looks,
have to check growth
yeah, of
first.
course we'll have to check everything, not just growth. हाँ, मतलब you're right. एक चीज और देखते हैं. Look at the sale growth. They are scaling as well. तो वर्धमान, you were saying, I think you were the one who said, look at the growth. तो ग्रोथ भी है. सेल, ये स्टॉक प्राइस क्यों, ग्रोथ
Yeah.
क्यों एब्सेंट है फिर? दे आर स्केल्ड बोथ इन टर्म्स ऑफ सेल एंड प्रॉफिट, बट स्टॉक प्राइस इज एब्सेंट, स्टॉक प्राइस ग्रोथ,
We
नो
should look
रिटर्न.
at working capital now.
हाँ, लेट्स लुक एट वर्किंग कैपिटल. लेट्स, कैन यू गाइस ऐड दिस अप? मोटा मोटा, टी 150,
Or
180,
200
लेस देन 200, लेस देन
less than
200,
200
राइट?
हाँ
वो तो
180
लास्ट,
170 something.
हाँ वैसा कुछ. नाउ कैन यू टोटल दिस अप एज वेल?
It's a negative.
नेगेटिव, राइट? So basically,
Yeah,
what does it mean? That profits are not being backed up by cash.
yeah,
Profits,
true.
they are reporting profits aggressively, but profit are not being backed up by cash. Now you may question कि अभी तो
True.
आ गया ना profit. Okay, I don't want to sidetrack, but if I double click here, if I double click,
हाँ
receivable अभी भी नेगेटिव है. मतलब मनी स्टिल स्टक विद द कस्टमर. सेल बुक हो गया है, कस्टमर ने पैसा दिया नहीं है,
okay okay mm-hmm.
पैसा इन्वेंट्री में भी फंसा हुआ है.
Working capital is an issue.
ऑल्दो 79 ऑप्टिकली पॉजिटिव है, डेफिनेटली पॉजिटिव है. तो मैं क्या करूंगा यार, चलो पिछले 4 साल में तो चलो कुछ नहीं हुआ, लेकिन अब लग रहा है कि यार अब पॉजिटिव हो रहा है, और शायद होगा. लेकिन इफ आई स्क्रैच द सर्फेस, ओके, सो लेट्स सी व्हाट दे आर हाइडिंग अंडर द रग. सो लेट्स सी व्हाट दे आर हाइडिंग अंडर द रग. तो वी सी रिसीवेबल, तो पैसा फंसा है कस्टमर के पास, इन्वेंट्री में भी फंसा है. दे हैव ऑफसेटेड द नेगेटिव इंपैक्ट ऑफ रिसीवेबल्स एंड इन्वेंट्री विद पेबल्स, मतलब अपने सप्लायर को पैसा नहीं दिया है.
Mm-hmm.
एनीवेज, ये थोड़ा साइड ट्रैक हो रहा हूं मैं, लेकिन आई जस्ट वांट टू काइंड ऑफ गिव यू दैट एडिशनल इनसाइट. नाउ लेट्स समराइज कि व्हाट वी सॉ फॉर दिस इंडस्ट्री. व्हाट डिड वी सी? एपीएल अपोलो, मेरी पावर पॉइंट दिख रही है, राइट? या, एपीएल अपोलो लो मार्जिन है, हरिओम इज हाई मार्जिन, राइट? वेरी
Yep.
गुड मार्जिन. एपीएल अपोलो इज लो कैपिटल इंटेंसिटी. हरिओम, okay, has overall it has high capital intensity due to high working capital. Guys, did you appreciate that?
Mm-hmm.
Asset
Yep.
intensity इतनी हाई नहीं है. Asset intensity may not be that high, but overall capital intensity is high because of high working capital, right?
Got it.
Did you understand the difference? So that's why when we saw the stock price is declining, okay, so market is expecting growth. See, Hariom also delivered on growth, by the way. Hariom delivered on growth. Hariom delivered on margin. Hariom also delivered on asset intensity, but Hariom is not delivering on working capital. Probably. So the impact looks like the combination of margin and capital intensity, okay, is far outweighing the impact of growth. ग्रोथ बहुत अच्छा है, लेकिन मार्केट को इस समय राइट नाउ सिर्फ ग्रोथ नहीं चाहिए. मार्केट का है भैया, हमें ये भी चाहिए साथ में. तो मार्केट, एज आई सेड, स्टॉक होल्डर रिटर्न्स इज द फंक्शन ऑफ ग्रोथ एंड अ कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ मार्जिन एंड कैपिटल इंटेंसिटी. कैपिटल इंटेंसिटी इनका इतना खराब है कि ओवरऑल मार्जिन कैपिटल इंटेंसिटी खराब हो गया है. इसका कॉम्बिनेशन खराब हो गया है, ऑल्दो दे हैव डिलीवर्ड ऑन ग्रोथ. इसलिए स्टॉक प्राइस, मार्केट हैज नॉट रिवॉर्डेड देम विद शेयर होल्डर रिटर्न्स. होप यू गाइज अंडरस्टूड दैट. दिस इज इंपॉर्टेंट गाइज,
Got
आई
it.
एम टू
Got
बिल्ड
it.
अपॉन दिस थोड़ी देर में. ओके, ऑलराइट, लेट्स मूव फॉरवर्ड. Guys, are you guys following, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Let's look at two more businesses, and then of course, I think it will get interesting. Okay. Sorry. Let's look at Or in fact, you know what? In the essence of time, what I'll do is I'll skip dairy because I see I'm not we are not doing very well on time. Let's just do HDFC AMC asset management business देख लेते हैं. Yeah. Yeah. What is the market cap? 1,14,000 CR is the market cap. Yeah. Look at the sale. मतलब no point comparing sale with market cap. What 25, 30 times, whatever. Market cap is 25, 30 times sale, right?
Yes, sir.
No point
Yeah.
Yes.
comparing. Look at the
Yeah.
freakingly high operating margin expansion. Picture perfect company. In fact, more than picture perfect. Look at the margin 59-60. Now it is 83, 80%.
Mm-hmm.
More than picture perfect. Look at how they have scaled. 14%. ठीक है. मतलब it's not bad, not very good, but it's decent enough. Okay. Stock price also last 5 years 13, 14%. So it's decent enough.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
मेरे ख्याल see, and if we were to like just check the box in terms of comparing the asset base with the sale, look at the total asset base. Fixed asset is only 197. No point comparing fixed asset base with sale. बहुत
Mm.
high, but it's an asset
Sale
light
is
industry, right? We all know.
yeah.
ये
Mm-hmm.
financial services company है एक तरीके से.
Yep, yep.
Okay. So you would wonder कि asset इतने high क्यों हैं? Fixed asset में कुछ है ही नहीं. So bulk of the asset base is investment, cash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In the, let's say in the form of FD or what have you. Okay. All right. तो इस बिजनेस में ज्यादा कुछ चेक करना नहीं है. Okay. मैं सीधा वापस आ रहा हूँ. It's a very picture perfect business, guys. High margin and very low capital intensity. Okay. You would say कि और growth भी है decent growth, very good margin, very good capital intensity. Okay. तो growth भी आपको so market has rewarded it accordingly. Decently reward किया है. Okay. So hope guys you got the framework कि मैं कैसे चेक कर रहा था. Right?
So,
I'm looking for these three notable characteristics from every business. And when you pull these notable characteristics for any business, you get some insight on the industry, like we got for Airtel, like we got for the hospital industry, like we got for consumer business. Okay.
yep.
But still, there are
Mm-hmm.
certain questions to which we need answers to. And I'm going to get to those open questions right now. See, guys, my idea is that when you spend, let's say, the first 5 minutes on a business, okay, what is it that you got to be looking at? Okay. How you should structure your analysis. Okay. So I'm trying to
Got it,
give you
got
a
it.
framework. I'm trying to structure your thinking कि randomly चीजें मत check करो. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Have a
Okay.
structure. So पहले ये तीन चीजें check करो. Okay. And then of course you got to check other things as well. So anyways, there are certain open questions which I said I'll get back to them. So let me get back to those questions. तो अभी मेरे को next slide में जाने दो. And again we'll do an exercise, guys. Okay. You guys know what is ROIC?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yep, yep.
And it's totally fine if you don't because we are all here to learn. Okay. So return on capital क्या होता है? Okay. If I just talk about the formula, it's operating profit in the numerator. Denominator, you have capital. Denominator, you have capital, and in numerator, you have your operating profit. Okay. If I double click, so this return on capital, return is your operating profit. As I said, denominator, you have invested capital. This could be further broken into operating margin and capital efficiency, right? Just do the ये बस सीधा फॉर्मूला है, right? ये इक्वेशन से ये मिल जाएगा,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Straightforward. You guys are
Got
very
it.
smart people, right? Okay. So larger point is return on capital is a function of operating margin and capital efficiency. All this while, guys, this is what we were doing, right? We were computing the operating margin and we were trying to get a sense of, not, sorry, we were not computing it. We were looking at the operating margin. We were actually we were looking at EBITDA. Okay? We were looking at the operating margin and we were trying to get a sense of the capital efficiency of the business, right? That's what we were doing all this while for all the businesses. So mota, what we were doing is we were trying to get a sense of the return on capital. Okay. So now let's do an exercise. कैन यू ओपन गाइस, कैन यू ओपन अप योर स्क्रीनर? ओके, और उसमें ऐसा एक काम करो, ओके, एक काम करो, लेट मी गो टू माय, मेरी स्क्रीन दिख रही है?
Yes, sir.
कैन यू क्लिक ऑन एडिट रेशियोज?
So, got it.
You guys clicked on edit ratios.
Okay.
Go to create a new ratio.
Okay.
Okay. यहाँ पे write capital efficiency,
Okay.
and then the short name, write anything like cap F. Okay, there will be no units because no units basically. Okay, what's the formula?
Capital.
Invested capital में क्या है ये? Let me just copy यहाँ पे एक second. Can you put this, guys? Guys, can you put this formula?
Yes,
Denominator
sir.
we have invested capital. ये डाल दिया everyone?
Yes.
Yep.
क्या है ये formula, by the way? ये formula है क्या? Shall I tell you what this formula is? This formula is fixed asset base plus working capital. This formula is, in fact, let me qualify what I said. The denominator is invested capital, okay? And invested capital, this formula is fixed asset base plus non-cash working capital. Non-cash working capital. अभी नहीं जाते हैं नॉन कैश में, लेकिन फिलहाल ऐसा लिख दो, ये वो फॉर्मूला वही है। हमने अभी जब
Okay.
बात कर रहे थे यहाँ पे, ये जो हम बात कर रहे थे, if you look at this, capital is asset base plus working capital, right? That's what I said. तो यहाँ पे हम वही डिफाइन कर रहे हैं डिनोमिनेटर में। ओके, so you guys are done now.
Yep.
So
Yes, sir.
this is, so what's the description? Amount of revenue per rupee of invested capital. हो गया? Show preview. Guys, shall I go ahead?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let me save it. और एक और रेशियो मेरे को बनाने दो. Create new ratio. Now let's create another ratio. Let's call it operating margin. फॉर्मूला क्या होगा? EBIT divided by sale, right? ये स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड है. दिस इज स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड.
Yes, sir.
Save ratio. Done. Okay. Now ये क्या हो गया? You guys are done, right?
Yep.
Okay. मैंने Avenue Supermarts अगर देखें, now we have the ratios, right? If you look at Avenue Supermarts,
Mm.
okay, if you look at these two newly created ratios, operating margin कितना? 6%.
Mm.
6%, right? Was the capital efficiency just a shade under 3, right?
Yep.
इसका मतलब, this is a, what we discussed, this is not a capital heavy business, right? That's what we said, right? For every rupee they invest in the business, they get a little less than 3 rupees as revenue. That's what it means, right?
Yeah.
हमने चेक
Correct.
किया था ना
Correct.
एवनी सुपरमार्ट्स के लिए कि this is not an asset heavy business. तब हम सिर्फ एसेट
Mm-hmm.
कंपेयर कर रहे
Correct.
थे. नाउ वी हैव द इंटायर कैपिटल. ओके,
Yep. Uh-huh.
सो आप देखो सारे बिजनेसेस के लिए ना, whatever businesses that you have pre-selected, you have been following now you would be able to see the capital efficiency and operating margin of that business. And what is it that we
Okay.
discussed?
Okay.
Combination of capital efficiency and operating margin is what? Is your return on capital.
Return on invested capital.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you multiply, तो मोटा मोटा around what? Less than 18% होगा, right?
Yeah.
If you multiply these things together, let's, if I go down, यहाँ पे क्या है ये? 18%, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So what did I do? I merely did a breakdown of ROC into two constituents, capital efficiency and operating margin. Did you guys follow that? That's what I did, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So a question may come to your mind is कि यहाँ पे ROCE लिखा है and I was talking about ROIC. There's a subtle difference between ROIC and ROCE. Probably that question I can take towards the end. Okay. But अभी के लिए समझो कि दोनों सेम चीजें हैं. Okay. Largely same ही है. There is a subtle difference. Okay. But hope you kind of appreciate what we did is we just did a breakdown of ROC into margin and capital efficiency. That's what we did, guys. All right. Now let me move on.
Okay.
I'm going to build upon this. Okay. Okay. So let me read a quote from Warren Buffett. Okay. Warren Buffett is in one of his shareholder letters, he has gone on to say that a truly great business must have an enduring moat that protects excellent returns on capital. Okay. The dynamics of capitalism guarantee that competitors would repeatedly assault any business castle that is earning high returns. Okay. He also goes on to say there is no formula in finance to measure business moat. Moat matlab competitive advantage. There is no formula in finance to measure business moat. The metric that comes closest to measuring business moat is return on capital, something that we just saw. The all-encompassing metric that comes closest to gauging if a business has moat is ROIC and ROE for financial services. A business
Okay.
which can demonstrate high return on capital for a significant period of time is able to do so because it has moat. Guys, absorb this.
Sir,
Yeah.
one question. Can you just explain why ROE for financial services?
See, good question. Because see, if I talk about a bank, okay, bank may see. Let me take a step back. Right. Capital क्या होता है? There are two providers of capital, right? Equity and debt. Equity and debt, right?
Correct.
Provide कौन
Yeah.
करता है कैपिटल धंधे में? Equity holders, stake शेयर होल्डर्स या डेट होल्डर्स, मतलब बैंक से जाके आप
Yeah.
उधारी लोगे. क्या?
Yeah.
ये जो इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल है ना, इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल ROIC, जो IC है ना, इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल, अभी हमने कहा कि ये एसेट बेस है प्लस वर्किंग कैपिटल.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh.
This is funded by equity holders and debt holders.
That
Both
was
both
okay.
equity holders and debt providers. होल्डर बोल दो, प्रोवाइडर बोल दो, जो भी. ओके. बैंक के केस में बैंक के केस में जो डेट होती है ना, okay, डेट इज रॉ मटेरियल. It's not capital per se. For any
Yeah.
non-financial services business, for any non-bank, your non-insurance, debt is capital. But for banks, debt is not capital per se, it is raw material.
Got it.
Yeah.
क्यों रॉ मटेरियल क्यों है? उसमें भी हम वो भी बात कर सकते हैं.
Because
I,
people give them money and they give
exactly the
money
money
forward.
that, yeah, we as people, we as bank के customers, we park our deposits, right, in bank. वो deposit क्या होता है? Deposit is akin to
बैंक के लिए
debt
तो
for a
डेट होता
bank.
है.
Sorry,
Yeah.
deposit is akin to
बैंक
debt
के
for
लिए
a
डेट हो
bank.
गया.
Yeah, बैंक के लिए debt हो गया, right, liability है.
Yeah.
बैंक का खुद का पैसा नहीं, वो हम अपना पैसा डाल रहे हैं डिपॉजिट में और बैंक हमें उसमें इंटरेस्ट दे रहा है. तो वो डेट जो है, वो जो डिपॉजिट है, वो कैपिटल थोड़ी है बैंक का. वो एट्स अ सोर्स ऑफ, इट्स अ पार्ट ऑफ देयर कोर बिजनेस ऑपरेशंस. ओके. तो इट्स रॉ मटेरियल फॉर अ
Correct.
बैंक. तो
Yes.
वैसे समझो. Okay? और मैं और डिटेल में भी जा सकता हूं इसमें, लेकिन अभी आई एम जस्ट स्टॉपिंग शॉर्ट. If it was you, Vardhan, I can spend more time on this question later. Yeah, outside the session as well. Okay, because I don't want to be sidetracked. But that was a good question. Okay. All right. So, guys, did you follow? Did you appreciate what Mr. Buffett is saying here? अभी
Yes.
let me build upon this. अभी complete नहीं हुआ है. See, Buffett is talking about two things, guys. Guys, can you just give me 1 minute? I need to get my pen. एक second.
No worries.
एक second. Just get me my pen to do better plans than to sit with me. So yeah.
Totally fine.
All right. Uh, एक चीज तो यहाँ पे इफ आई से देयर आर कपल ऑफ ऑब्जर्वेशंस गाइस यहाँ पे। पहला ऑब्जर्वेशन है, क्यों ऐसा हो रहा है कि this slide talks about the significance of return on capital, right? Significance, why return on capital is important. So ideally now, for any business, return on capital no should comfortably exceed the cost of capital. अब पूछो कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल क्या है? 30 seconds on cost of capital. Okay? Cost of capital क्या होता है? It's a think of this as a weighted average of your cost of equity and cost of debt. Equity, see there, as we were discussing, there are two capital providers to a business. One is equity, the other is debt. ठीक है? Let's say जो शेयर होल्डर होता है ना, if let's say the shareholder equity holder puts in money, right, in a business, so the equity holder will have some return expectation from that business. Okay? कि यार मैंने इक्विटी में इन्वेस्ट किया है, मेरे को एट द बेयर मिनिमम 14% लेट्स से तो बनाना ही बनाना है. That's why I'm taking the risk of equities. So bare minimum. So think of cost of equity. I know I'm trying to give you a very simplified non-textbook understanding, लेकिन ऐसे समझो कि कि कोई भी इन्वेस्टर, equity investor, okay, would have a bare minimum return expectation from a particular company. Okay, that bare minimum return expectation, think of it as cost of equity. कि इतना तो मेरे को बनाना ही बनाना है. कॉस्ट ऑफ डेट क्या है? और मैं टैक्स टैक्स इंप्लीकेशन की यहां बात नहीं करूंगा, लीविंग थिंग्स सिंपल. अगर बैंक से, ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर टू कैपिटल प्रोवाइडर्स, राइट? इक्विटी वालों ने पैसा डाला, डेट द बिजनेस विल टेक सम उधारी फ्रॉम द बैंक एज वेल. लेट्स से बैंक से लिया 10% पे लिया, 10% इंटरेस्ट पे लिया. ओके, अगर इसका वेटेड एवरेज करें, लेट्स से दोनों इक्वल इक्वल वेट है, तो वेटेड एवरेज कितना हो गया? 12% हो गया, राइट? कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल.
Yep.
So for any business, and of course every business will have a different cost of capital. Okay? So all I'm saying, guys, is for any business, the return on capital should ideally beat the cost of capital by a fair amount. If it's not able to do so, let's say if it's barely making 12%, then what it means is the business is destroying value. इसका ये मतलब हुआ. 1-2 साल 3 साल के लिए ठीक है, लेकिन ओवर लॉन्ग टर्म बिजनेस शुड बीट द कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल. तो पहला ये पॉइंट है. दूसरा पॉइंट है व्हाट बफे इज टॉकिंग अबाउट. लुक एट दिस सिग्निफिकेंट पीरियड. Buffett is talking about longevity. This is important, guys. He's talking about longevity. कि ideally a business, okay, should deliver excess returns on capital. I'm using the word excess returns on capital. Excess matlab differential between ROC and cost of capital. Ideally, a business should deliver excess returns for a significant period of time. He's stressing on longevity, something that we'll touch upon. Okay? So hope this is clear, guys. कि क्या, what is it that we are discussing? So a good business ideally should have a high return on capital for extended periods of time. And we just saw the breakup of ROC, return on capital, which is margin and capital efficiency. Okay. Now I'll answer some questions that we had in the slide that we discussed. Okay. एक चीज और. So this ROC, I'm sorry, this ROC, return on capital, do you think this is a leading indicator or lagging indicator of moat? Do you think this is a leading indicator or lagging indicator of moat?
Lagging.
Right. Lagging indicator, right? So what is the leading indicator? What's the leading indicator for moat? So we need to understand what drives moat and longevity for all those businesses that we discussed. Guys, I'm going somewhere with this. Leading indicator क्या है? Leading. What drives moat? Lagging तो समझ लिया. Okay? And then जब हम ये समझेंगे तो we'll get answers to some of the open questions that we had in that slide. Let's now move forward. Okay. let's revisit Airtel. Just quickly revisiting all the businesses very quickly. Okay. If you guys put in Airtel, if you have defined these two ratios, I asked you to define these two ratios in your own screener. If you did define those two ratios, you would see that Airtel has an operating margin of 23% and a capital efficiency of 0.6. But for every rupee that they invest in their business, they make only 60 paise as revenue. तो उनका ROIC कितना है? 13%. It's not a good looking ROIC. Optically, it's not a good looking ROIC. Okay. What does it tell us? Margin does not seem to offset the very high capital intensity. Such companies, as we saw, need a lot of debt to grow. आपने देखा था, right, guys?
Yep.
We saw that Airtel cannot survive without debt. Had Airtel been delivering an ROIC of, let's say, 20%, I'm just making it up, then probably it would not have needed the amount of debt which it needs right now. Then probably it could have survived with some debt and some of its own money. But because Airtel is delivering an ROIC which is barely beating its cost of capital, so it's not generating any excess returns. कुछ excess returns, excess value नहीं create कर रहा. That's why companies like Airtel, they cannot survive without debt. They need debt to grow. तो जब भी आप ऐसी ROIC देखो ना 12-13% या 14%, आपको पता है कि ये सारे धंधे ना बिना उधारी के ग्रो नहीं कर सकते. और सी उधारी इज नॉट बैड. ओके, राइट. सो ये आपका एक कंक्लूजन है. ओके, देन द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन दैट यू गाइस में हैव फॉर मी इज कि यार इतना जब खराब ROIC है, कोई वैल्यू क्रिएट नहीं हो रहा है, तो व्हाई द स्टॉक प्राइस इज डन सो वेल? दैट शुड बी योर नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, राइट? स्टॉक प्राइस बहुत अच्छा किया है एयरटेल का, वी जस्ट सॉ,
Yeah. Yep.
राइट?
Yep.
एंड दैट्स अ वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन कि सब कुछ खराब है तो ऐसा क्यों है? सी गाइस, वी गॉट टू अंडरस्टैंड इस इंडस्ट्री में हुआ क्या है. दैट्स व्हाई वी कैन नॉट पेंट एवरीथिंग विद द सेम ब्रश. This is a difficult business. Telecom is a very difficult business all around the world, even in the US, AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, all the business in the US. This is a tough business, very capital intensive business. इस धंधे में आपको अच्छे रिटर्न्स कमाना ही मुश्किल है. ओके, तो अपने क्लास का हीरो है एयरटेल. एक तरीके से धंधा ही टफ है. जो रिटर्न हाईएस्ट, एक तरीके से ऐसे सोचो, जो रिटर्न हाईएस्ट कमा सकता है वो कमा रहा है या कोशिश कर रहा है कमाने की, ऐसे.
Understood.
और अभी क्या हुआ है? अभी क्या हुआ इंटरेस्टिंग? इफ यू गो बैक 10 years in time, 10 years in time, there were 10 telecom players in India.
Consider globally.
Now what? There are only 3-4 telecos, right, in India?
Two
Jio.
majorly.
Sorry?
Two majorly, rest are
Yeah,
just lagging behind.
absolutely. There are probably only two. It's a duopoly, not even an oligopoly. It's a duopoly. So अभी मैं उसको फर्दर बिल्डअप करता हूं. तो व्हाट इज हेल्प एयरटेल? व्हाट इज द ड्राइवर ऑफ मोड फॉर दिस, फॉर एयरटेल, फॉर बिजनेस लाइक एयरटेल एंड जियो?
Market share.
पहला है, दिस इज अ हाई बैरियर टू एंट्री बिजनेस. इट्स टफ टू रेप्लिकेट दीज टावर एंड टेलीकॉम एसेट्स. कोई भी कल को उठ के नहीं आके ये बिजनेस खड़ा कर पाएगा. इट्स अ वेरी हाई बैरियर टू एंट्री बिजनेस, गाइस. टेलीकॉम तो कहीं जाएगा नहीं. वी नीड अ फोन्स, राइट? वी नीड अ फोन्स.
True. True.
वी नीड टू कम्युनिकेट. अब कोई कर ही नहीं सकता ये धंधा. High barrier to entry business, and of course, I was saying, it's a duopoly industry. Market leadership है. Whenever there is a market leadership, क्या होता है? Supply consolidation हो गया है. Now let me talk about moat longevity. जब भी supply side consolidation हो गया, supply side consolidation has happened in this industry. Demand supply है, supply केवल दो लोगों के पास है. एक तरीके से डिमांड बहुत ज्यादा है. तो क्या होगा? कि इससे होगा क्या? अब एयरटेल and probably Jio, they probably will raise prices. Now they have pricing in control. पहले नहीं था, अब है. Probably they will increase the price of our Wi-Fi connections or our phone prepaid and postpaid plans, because सप्लाई है ही नहीं मार्केट में. दो ही लोगों के पास सप्लाई है. जब सप्लाई कंस्ट्रेंट होती है तो प्राइस बढ़ा देंगे वो लोग, प्रीमियम प्राइस करेंगे. तो उससे क्या होगा? इवेंचुअली मार्जिन बढ़ जाएगा. कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी का तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते ये लोग. मार्जिन बढ़ जाएगा, मार्जिन बढ़ेगा तो इट विल रिफ्लेक्ट इन ROIC. ROIC also may increase. Guys, do you appreciate that? So
Got
my
it, sir.
Yeah.
larger point is supply side consolidation and high demand in this industry will lead to more sustenance over a significant period in the future. तो इनफैक्ट अभी तो मेरे ख्याल से इंडस्ट्री का अब अच्छा टाइम चालू हुआ है। अभी तक तो स्ट्रगल 15-20 साल से चल रहा था। ओके, सो दैट्स व्हाई स्टॉक हैज डन वेल एंड मे प्रॉब्ली डू वेल। ऑफ कोर्स फ्यूचर किसी ने नहीं देखा है, लेकिन आई एम जस्ट रिस्ट्रिक्टिंग माई सेल्फ टू व्हाट आर द ड्राइवर्स ऑफ मोट एंड व्हाट इज द लॉन्जेविटी ऑन दैट मोट। लॉन्जेविटी काफी लग रही है क्वालिटेटिव तरीके से अगर सोचे तो बस। ओके, होप गाइस यू अप्रिशिएटेड व्हाट वी डिस्कस इन दिस स्लाइड। Let me
Yeah.
move on to the next one.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry.
100% I was saying.
Yeah, probably.
We could.
Okay, so let me move on to the next one. Let's very quickly look at the hospital industry as well. Okay, hospital में we already looked at Narayana, right? Capital efficiency, again, if you pull up Narayana now in your in screener, आपके लिए अपने आप शो अप करेगा operating margin, capital efficiency. Narayana and even
Mm-hmm.
Kowai, they have very good ROICs, right? Courtesy, good operating margin, courtesy, good profit. This is a high capital intensive business, not as high as
Mm-hmm.
Airtel, but still high, right? So, so what does this tell us, guys? Good margins, good margins seem to be offsetting the impact of high capital intensity. Such companies typically need a combination of debt and internal accruals, that is their own money to grow. ठीक है? Guys, you with me up till here?
Got it, sir.
ठीक है, मतलब आरओआईसी अच्छे हैं, मतलब थोड़ा उधारी लेंगे, थोड़ा अपना पैसा लेंगे, हो जाएगा, विच इज व्हाट exactly Narayana and players like Kowai are doing. Okay, let's look at the drivers of moat. Drivers of moat क्या है इस business में? Okay, judicious capital allocation. See, whenever you come across a capital heavy business, capital intensive business, you got to look at how judiciously they allocate capital. That may become of a driver of moat for that business, and that is a driver of moat for businesses like Narayana. Let me state some examples. Narayana, over the last 5 or 10 years, they have closed down a lot of hospitals. They opened hospitals in Chittagong, in Durgapur, in a lot of other places. They did not do well. They were judicious enough. They took a call and closed them down. They shut shop. They stopped the bleeding. भाई अगर कोई चीज नहीं काम कर रही उसे बंद करो, आगे बढ़ो. It's a very good thing to do, right? Okay.
Yep.
दूसरा, they've also expanded internationally. They are in Cayman Islands. They've now acquired a hospital in UK. Okay? And if you look at the con calls, earning call transcripts, ये फूक फूक के कदम रखते हैं. Okay? As in they think a lot, at least that's the impression they give before they enter let's say before they expand. So they are very judicious capital allocators. And also something which I said when I was discussing Narayana in the first slide, when they do not have any major capex coming up, then what they do is they pare down their debt using their own money. Sign of a very good
Mm-hmm.
capital allocator. So this, the way you run the business itself, becomes a driver of moat. Cost advantage क्यों है? See, Narayana typically prices its services slightly lower than some of the larger organized players like Max, like Fortis, yeah, like Medanta, etc., etc. थोड़ा lower price होते हैं. Despite pricing its services lower, it's able to drive a comparable margin. It's of course helped in part by the international presence, but also because they have delivered a lot of operating efficiencies in their business. Okay, they keep a hisab of every money, every rupee that they spend in their hospital. Okay, so ये किस तरीके से धंधा चला रहे हो ना, वो ड्राइवर ऑफ मोड बन जाता है. Okay, what is the longevity of moat in this business? Tailwind, yeah. See, this is applicable. In fact, all the hospitals guys have done well. All the hospitals. There are a lot of tailwinds in this industry. There is increasing penetration of health insurance. People are earning more money now, rising incomes. Everyone wants their loved and near and dear ones to be treated, to be provided quality health care. And of course, the population is aging, right? And also, if I may add, which is not there in this slide, the ratio of private to public beds is increasing. Private to public matlab quality. इंडिया का हेल्थ केयर इज गोइंग टुवर्ड्स क्वालिटी. ग्रेजुअल है लेकिन slowly that's happening. So there are long term tailwinds. because there are long-term tailwinds in this business, so there is longevity. Okay, I'll move forward. Let's look at consumer business. Nestle, Bikaji, Zydus. Nestle, we already discussed a very high, very good capital efficiency. It's a very low capital intensive business, very high capital efficient business. Nestle, right? We already saw. Look at the freakingly high Nestle ka return on capital, off the charts, right? And we already discussed, despite high ROIC, it's not delivering on shareholder returns because it's not delivering on growth, right? इसलिए वो तो हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं. यहाँ पे जाइडस की
Hmm.
बात करते हैं. Zydus Wellness is a company which is into personal care and nutrition. उसके साथ क्या हो गया भाई? उसका why is it उसका कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी इतना लो क्यों है? वेरी क्विकली मैं पुल करता हूं Zydus and we're going to end very soon. Sorry, not Zydus Life Science, Zydus Wellness. Sorry,
This one is, yeah.
it's getting recorded, right? Yeah. Okay.
I think recording stopped when
Recording
you
stop हो गई क्या?
went. हाँ. When
और
you
तो आई
went
थी
to
कि
take
तो
your pen.
नहीं नहीं, हो रही है.
इस पे कैसे है?
देख लो एक बार, चेक कर लो, डबल चेक कर लो भाई.
हाँ, it's on.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's happening. It's happening.
अच्छा ठीक है, Zydus Wellness पे हैं. Okay. I'm I'll just show one thing. यहाँ पे एक चीज देखो Zydus का. अरे कहाँ गया यार? Okay. 2018 till 2018 they were delivering very good ROC, return on capital. उसके बाद क्या हो गया? What happened suddenly? एकदम से what happened overnight?
Debtor days increased.
नहीं, I'll tell you what happened. ROC is a function of what? Margin and
Working
capital
capital.
efficiency.
Capital
Yeah.
efficiency.
Efficiency, हाँ.
Okay? That's the takeaway of
I
the
think they
session,
got
guys.
lot of intangible assets.
Absolutely. So अभी दिखाता हूँ क्या हुआ. बैलेंस शीट में अगर जाते हैं, let's look at what happened in 2019. Fixed asset base suddenly increased from 100 CR to under 5,000 CR. क्या हो गया
Hmm.
एकदम से? If I double click, no, as someone rightly pointed out, there was a increase in intangible asset. ये intangible is goodwill. मैं बताता हूँ क्या हुआ. This is interesting. Okay, and that's how you
Demerge.
should be analyzing businesses, guys. Sorry, someone had a comment.
Oh, was it a demerge between Zydus,
नहीं,
a bigger
मैं बताता हूँ.
Zydus company?
मैं बताता हूँ क्या हुआ. See, back in 2018, 2019, Zydus, they had two choices in front of them. They had a trade-off that they need to make. The two choices or the trade-off was कि either continue on the slow growth trajectory. They were delivering good ROCs, either continue delivering good ROCs but with slow growth. ग्रोथ उनका स्लो था
Okay.
कि यार स्लो ग्रो कर रहे हैं,
Okay.
करते रहो, लेकिन आरओसी तो हमारे अच्छे हैं. लेकिन मार्केट को दोनों चाहिए ना भाई. मार्केट को ग्रोथ भी चाहिए और दोनों चाहिए, एक से नहीं काम होता है.
Hmm.
Okay? तो उनके पास एक ऑप्शन था कि भाई ऐसा करते हैं कि let's acquire a company, and the company that they acquired was Heinz India Private Limited. That company has brands like
Okay. Got it.
Nycil powder, Complan, Glucon D, ये सब वाले brands. What the thought process was कि अगर ये brands acquire कर लेते हैं, okay, तो उनको ग्रोथ मिल जाएगा. ग्रोथ मिल जाएगा, जो मिसिंग था वो मिल जाएगा. लेकिन उससे प्रॉब्लम क्या हुई?
Mm-hmm.
And they knew that कि they would have to compromise on ROCE, which is exactly what happened.
Got
क्यों
it.
कॉम्प्रोमाइज करना पड़ेगा? क्योंकि कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी क्या होता है? डिनोमिनेटर में यू हैव इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल, राइट? इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल में यू हैव intangible assets as well, right? Fixed asset में you have intangible asset as well, right, guys? So denominator is heavy.
Yes.
Yep.
So overall capital efficiency took a beating. Because capital efficiency took a beating, ROIC, of course, went down the doldrums. That's exactly what happened. और प्रॉब्लम एक और हो गई कि they overpaid for the acquisition. This intangible asset is entirely almost goodwill. Goodwill का मतलब, goodwill is the overpayment. Goodwill is the overpayment that you do on the above the fair value of the acquisition. तो जब आपने इतना सारा ओवर पेमेंट कर दिया और वो आपके डिनोमिनेटर में आ गया एज इन्वेस्टेड कैपिटल, ओके, तो ऑफ कोर्स तो आपके आरओसीईज बहुत डिप्रेस हो गए, एंड टिल डेट दे हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू बीट देयर कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल, बिकॉज इतना ओवर पेमेंट करके रखा हुआ है। ओके, बिकॉज दे टुक दैट कॉल, स्ट्रेटजी कॉल, कि यार वी वांट ग्रोथ, केवल आरओसी नहीं चाहिए हमें, एंड बिजनेस इज
So
दैट
why is
स्ट्रेटजी।
the sir, I have a question.
या
Why is the overpayment here considered as an asset in the first place?
या बिकॉज सी ओवर पेमेंट इज गुडविल। वो कहाँ पे जाएगा? वो इंटेंजिबल है ना, कहाँ जाएगा फिर बताओ? सी,
I'm not sure. Could you explain this once again?
या ओके, सी गुडविल क्या होता है? सी व्हेन अ बिजनेस एक्वायर्स अनदर बिजनेस, when let's say business A acquires business B, when business A acquires business B, okay, then the overpayment which is done by business A, the overpayment above the fair value of business B, overpayment above the fair value of business B appears as goodwill on the books of the acquirer. I'll repeat, the overpayment above the fair value of business B appears as goodwill on the books of the acquirer. अदरवाइज वो कहाँ
Okay, sir.
जाएगा?
Understood.
वो इंटेंजिबल है, इंटेंजिबल है वो। भाई आपने ओवर पेमेंट किया है, कहीं तो जाएगा वो, ठीक है? बिजनेस भाई सी, जो तुम्हारे कॉम्प्लान्स एंड ये सब ब्रांड्स है ना, ये these are very पॉपुलर ब्रांड्स ग्रोइंग अप इन इंडिया। वी नो दैट नाइसिल, प्रिकली हीट पाउडर और जो भी था, कॉम्प्लान और ग्लूकॉन डी, वेरी पॉपुलर ब्रांड्स, वेल एंट्रेंच्ड ब्रांड्स। तो उनको एक्वायर करने के लिए उनके जो शेयर होल्डर्स होंगे, उन्होंने कहा कि भाई मेरे को ओवर पेमेंट चाहिए, धंधा चाहिए भाई, इफ वी नीड एन एग्जिट वी नीड एन ओवर पेमेंट। Okay, everything is legit, nothing is illegal. Overpayment, that's why it's an intangible asset. Did I answer your question? Or
Yes, sir. Understood. Thank you.
intangible asset is a part of your invested capital. अगर ये स्लाइड अगर याद है, आई गिव यू गाइस दिस स्लाइड एज वेल। यहाँ पे जो फॉर्मूला था, इफ यू गाइस लुक एट दिस स्लाइड, यहाँ पे मैंने लिखा है इंटेंजिबल्स प्लस गुडविल।
Sir, I have another question about intangibles.
Mm-hmm.
Is research and development counted as an expense or
That's a
is
very
it
good
under
question.
intangible assets?
That's a very, very good question. That's a very good question. Uh, can I choose to take this question towards the end? But let me
Yes, sir.
just since you have asked it, see क्या है? Accounting बोलती है कि R&D को expense करो। I'm not an accountant by the way. I don't have a CA background. Okay, but accounting बोलती है कि R&D को expense करो P&L में। Okay, लेकिन the way people, investors like to think about R&D is, or probably you should be thinking about R&D is as an intangible. तो वहां थोड़ा दो schools of thought हैं. There's an accounting school of thought and there is a investor led school of thought. Because intangible क्यों? Because if something is going to give you benefit to the long term, you cannot have it in the P&L, you cannot expense it. That's the rationale given by investors. So goodwill also is not going to give you benefit just for 1 year. It's going to give you benefit for 10 years or 20 years or 50 years. So something is going to give you benefit for the long term. You cannot have it in the P&L. You've got to have it in the balance sheet. You understand the logic?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. I थोड़ा ग्राउंड कवर करना है एंड आई एम डूइंग वेरी बैड ऑन टाइम। मैं जल्दी से यहाँ पे आ रहा हूँ, बट होप थोड़ा सा क्लियर हो गया होगा उससे। बट दैट वाज अ गुड क्वेश्चन। ओके, सो एनी विच वेज, माय लार्जर पॉइंट इज कि इन लोग ने बिजनेस कॉल लिया कि भाई लेट्स कॉम्प्रोमाइज ऑन ग्रोथ लेते हैं, आरओसी में कॉम्प्रोमाइज करते हैं। लेकिन अभी भी इन्होंने ना लास्ट में 2 एक्विजिशन और कर दिए जायडस ने। ओके, जायडस ने 2 एक्विजिशन और कर दिए। ओके, and you would be surprised to know, and pleasantly surprised I would say, कि there's a famous investor Rajiv Thakkar who has from PPFAS mutual fund who has invested in this company. उन्होंने क्यों इन्वेस्ट किया होगा? उन्होंने ये सोचा होगा कि भाई 2 एक्विजिशंस जो अभी रिसेंटली किए हैं, दे आर वेरी, दोज 2 एक्विजिशंस दे आर ऑन अ वेरी हाई ग्रोथ ट्रैजेक्टरी, वेरी हाई ग्रोथ ट्रैजेक्टरी। ओके, सो वो ये सोच रहे हैं कि क्योंकि इतना हाई ग्रोथ आएगा तो ओवर टाइम आरओसीईज, जो हाई ग्रोथ से जो प्रॉफिट आएगा, ओवर टाइम आरओसीई भी हाई कर देगा। तो ओवर टाइम उनको आरओसीई भी मिल जाएगा और ग्रोथ भी मिल जाएगा और उससे शेयर होल्डर रिटर्न आ जाएगा। दैट्स द थॉट प्रोसेस। सो ही इज प्रॉब्ली थिंकिंग इनटू द फ्यूचर एंड टेकिंग अ कॉल। ओके, ऑलराइट गाइस, लेट मी, सो होप इट वाज क्लियर। सो एनीवेज, ये हमने
Yes, sir.
डिस्कस कर लिया। ड्राइवर्स ऑफ मोड जल्दी जल्दी देख लेते हैं। सी, कंज्यूमर बिजनेस में ना जो जो एक अगर चीज देखनी है वो है डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन। distribution, how well entrenched you are. Okay? वही देखना है आपको. अगर आप डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर, हर किराने की दुकान में आप मिलते हो इंडिया में, आपने डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन रखा है, कल को नया प्रोडक्ट भी लॉन्च करते हो ना, वो आप कहीं भी पहुंचा दोगे इंडिया में. कोई नया कस्टमर, नया नया प्लेयर आया, नई कंपनी आई, उसको बहुत टाइम लग जाएगा बिकॉज दे डोंट हैव द डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन व्हिच लेट्स से जाइडस और नेस्ले हैव ऑलरेडी. सो द मोट इज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इन दिस धंधा. प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड दैट. दैट्स व्हाई कंज्यूमर बिजनेसेस ऑलवेज ट्रेड एट रिच मल्टीपल्स, क्योंकि इतने वेल इंट्रेंच्ड हैं फिजिकली, एंड दैट गिव्स देम अ वेरी रीजनेबल लॉन्जेविटी. मैं आगे बढ़ता हूं. क्वेश्चंस हैं, आई नो. इसको मैं ओके, I'll answer that. I don't want to be sidetracked, guys. Okay, I'm just doing very bad on time. In 1 hour I need to take my wife and my daughter to their appointment, doctor's appointment as well. So I need to kind of hurry up. But I'll take your questions towards the end. Okay. All right. So retail. ये देख लिया रिटेल में, राइट? हमने
Yep.
ROIC ये हाई है. Not good looking operating margin, but very high capital efficiency. Okay. As a combination, they have decent ROIC. क्या बताता है? Low margins and high capital turns, since this is a volume business. यार ये डीमार्ट तो वॉल्यूम का धंधा है ना, वॉल्यूम.
Yep.
और we also know because of low capital intensity led decent ROIC, DMart has been able to grow without debt. जब आपके ROIC decent है ना गाइस, okay, so there are of course there are you can grow without debt. हमने वो देखा था नारायणा के केस में भी. Okay, you may need some debt time to time, but you can grow without debt as well, which is precisely what DMart has been doing. कि उनका ROIC इतना अच्छा है. और उनको ROIC क्यों अच्छा है या decent टू अच्छा है? इस धंधे में जो चीज देखनी होती है ना, वो बताएं क्या देखनी होती है? देखनी होती है इन्वेंट्री टर्न्स, कि आप अपनी इन्वेंट्री कितनी जल्दी घुमा पा रहे हो. मेन चीज, इन्वेंट्री मैनेजमेंट इज एट द हार्ट ऑफ एनी रिटेल बिजनेस. आई वुड से इनडिस्क्रिशनरी रिटेल बिजनेस, मास रिटेल बिजनेस, नॉट डिस्क्रिशनरी. इनडिस्क्रिशनरी रिटेल बिजनेस के हार्ट में इन्वेंट्री टर्न्स होता है. जितनी इन्वेंट्री जल्दी घुमा पा रहे हो ना आप, उतने अच्छे रिटेलर हो आप. सो वर्किंग कैपिटल मैनेजमेंट is central to, is a driver of moat for this business. और दूसरा क्लस्टर एक्सपेंशन. ऑफ कोर्स केवल इन्वेंट्री मैनेजमेंट नहीं, हम ग्रोथ की भी बात करेंगे. ग्रोथ का मतलब कि अगर आपने एक जगह आपने कैपिटलाइज कर लिया, सो आप उसके साइड में भी ग्रो कर जाओ, उसके बगल के शहर में भी ग्रो कर जाओ, या उसी शहर में कहीं और अपना स्टोर खोल. तो उससे क्या होता है? यू सेव अपॉन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कॉस्ट, राइट? सो even in fact hospitals and retailer like DMart, they follow this cluster expansion strategy and it has worked very well for them. Okay? Longevity क्या है? Now we do not know what's the longevity on this business. Okay, because now of course they are in a battle of convenience versus price with Zepto and with India में कौन सा Blinkit, right? Blinkit offers value proposition of convenience. DMart offers value proposition of price. So we got to see how the battle of convenience versus price unfolds in the future. That's going to tell you कि longevity क्या है इस business में. अभी तो थोड़ा लग रही longevity, लेकिन future में क्या होगा वो ये बैटल बताएगा. हाउ दिस बैटल कन्वीनियंस वर्सेस प्राइस अनफोल्ड्स. आई हैड प्लान टू से अ फ्यू मोर थिंग्स हियर, बट वी आर आउट ऑफ टाइम, सो मैं आगे बढ़ता हूं. अभी आईटी सर्विसेज की जल्दी बात कर लेते हैं. लुक एट द ऑफ द चार्ट ROIC. ऑफ द चार्ट मार्जिन भी अच्छा, कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी भी अच्छा, बट है क्या? नहीं, ग्रोथ है नहीं. ग्रोथ मिसिंग है, वो तो हम डिस्कस कर चुके हैं.
Yep.
और अगर हाई मार्जिन, हाई कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी, हाई ROIC, व्हाट डज इट टेल यू? कि दे डू नॉट नीड डेट. इनफैक्ट दीज कंपनीज दे हैव हार्डली नीडेड डेट. बिना उधारी कहाँ चाहिए होगी? इतना ROIC है तो आप इतना वैल्यू जनरेट कर रहे हो, इतना एक्सेस रिटर्न जनरेट कर रहे हो कि अपने पैसे में ही आप ग्रो कर सकते हो. ऐसी कंपनी इतनी हाई ROIC में आपको उधारी नहीं जरूरत पड़ती. लेकिन क्या है, अगर आपके हाई ROIC, इसका मतलब क्या हो गया? You will attract a lot of competition over time. मक्खियों की तरह competition you invite because you are an industry in which you can earn such high ROICs. तो barriers to entry are very low in this business. तो what is the moat? मोट क्या है? अब तो मोट चला गया है शायद, लेकिन अभी तक मोट क्या था? मोट था हाई स्विचिंग कॉस्ट. लेट्स से मेकिंग इट अप, TCS. लेट्स से TCS का एग्जांपल लेते हैं. दिस इज अ मेड अप एग्जांपल. TCS लेट्स से हैज अ नेस्ले UK का क्लाइंट. So TCS, let's say, is very well entrenched in Nestle के UK के operations. So do you think Nestle UK will can just overnight switch to HCL or Infosys? The answer is no. They cannot just overnight switch to a different IT service provider because TCS is supporting the systems, is developing some software for them. ओवरनाइट स्विच नहीं कर सकते आप, वो 1 साल 2 साल लग जाता है, एंड इट कुड बी अ वेरी एक्सपेंसिव अफेयर फॉर नेस्ले. सो दिस बिजनेस इज हाई स्विचिंग कॉस्ट. एक बार आप घुस गए किसी क्लाइंट में तो आप काफी टाइम तक घुसे रहते हो. और दूसरा है कॉस्ट एडवांटेज, बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स दिस धंधा, द बिजनेस मॉडल ऑफ ऑल दीज आईटी सर्विसेज कंपनीज, लेबर आर्बिट्राज. You pay someone, let's say, like 10 lakh rupees in India, same person you pay 30 40 lakhs in US. So there is a labor arbitrage. Same people, same person, same output of work, but there's a pay differential. तो कॉस्ट एडवांटेज वर्क करता है फॉर दीज आईटी सर्विसेज कंपनी. तो उनका बिजनेस मॉडल ही लेबर आर्बिट्राज है, कॉस्ट एडवांटेज. एंड व्हाट इज मोट लॉन्जेविटी? अब कोई लॉन्जेविटी बची नहीं है मेरे ख्याल से, अब चला गया है मेरे ख्याल से. सर्विस बिजनेसेस likely won't deliver excess returns over time due to threat of AI. And I'm feeling that in my, I work in strategy and consulting. Even our clients demand कि पहले भाई 10 लोग लगाते थे किसी काम को डिलीवर करने के लिए. अब उनको पता है कि चैट जीपीटी है, परप्लेक्सिटी है, क्या क्या है, कि भाई 10 लोग क्यों चाहिए, 9 लोग में डिलीवर करो. पहले क्या होता था कि इन्वेस्टर्स ना जब आईटी इन्फोसिस टीसीएस को ट्रैक करते थे तो पूछते थे कि व्हाट इज योर हेडकाउंट ग्रोथ, आप कितने लोग हायर करने वाले हो. अब क्या हो गया पता है? अब हो गया है कि द ग्रोथ हैज बीन डीकपल्ड फ्रॉम हेडकाउंट ग्रोथ. द रेवेन्यू ग्रोथ हैज बीन डीकपल्ड फ्रॉम हेडकाउंट ग्रोथ. मतलब हेडकाउंट ग्रोथ इज नॉट व्यूड एज पॉजिटिव नाउ बिकॉज ऑफ एआई और जो भी हो रहा है. ओके, सो दिस इंडस्ट्री वुड नॉट गिव यू रिटर्न्स फॉर द फॉरसिबल फ्यूचर इन माय व्यू. ओके, ग्रोथ मिसिंग है, ऑल्दो आरओआईसी बहुत हाई है. ओके, आगे बढ़ते हैं. स्टील ट्यूब एंड पाइप. स्टील ट्यूब एंड पाइप ये हम अच्छा ये देख लो. एपीएल अपोलो हमने डिस्कस किया था, वेरी हाई कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी, लो मार्जिन. हरिओम पाइप वेरी हाई मार्जिन, वेरी गुड मार्जिन. लुक एट द कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी, लुक एट द कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी, वेरी लो vis a vis एपीएल अपोलो. एपीएल अपोलो इज द पोस्टर बॉय इन दिस इंडस्ट्री, राइट? ऐसा क्यों है? ऐसा क्यों है भाई? यहां पे मैंने लिखा है, अगर आप ये देखो ना मार्जिन, हरिओम हैज हायर मार्जिन सिंस इट इज बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेटेड, इट मेक्स इट्स ओन रॉ मटेरियल. यहाँ पे मेरे पास एक स्लाइड डेक होगा, मैंने प्रिपेयर करके रखा था. ये दूसरी स्लाइड डेक दिख रही है.
यप यप यप.
तो हरिओम क्या करता है? हरिओम क्या करता है? वो आयरन ओर लेता है एनएमडीसी से, वो 3 4 चीजें प्रोसेस करता है, एंड देन इट इवेंटुअली मेक्स दीज पाइप्स एंड ट्यूब्स. ये 4 4 स्टेप्स खुद करता है. इट्स बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेटेड. अपोलो क्या करता है? अपोलो, एपीएल अपोलो, द पोस्टर बॉय, दे जस्ट टेक होल्ड रोल, ये दे जस्ट सोर्स हॉट रोल स्ट्रिप्स, ये चीज लेते हैं और बस बना देते हैं इससे. दे डोंट गेट इनटू द झमेला ऑफ लेट्स से प्रोक्योरिंग आयरन ओर या स्पॉन्ज आयरन. क्या ये सब नहीं, मतलब हमें नहीं करना, हम सिर्फ ये करेंगे ये स्टेप. लेकिन हरिओम ये सारे स्टेप करता है, दे आर बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेटेड. तो इससे प्रॉब्लम सी, फायदा ये है, हरिओम को फायदा क्या है? द फायदा दैट हरिओम गेट इज दे गेट हाई मार्जिन बिकॉज खुद का रॉ मटेरियल है. एपीएल अपोलो डजंट गेट हाई मार्जिन बिकॉज ऑफ प्रिसाइसली दैट रीजन. लेकिन हरिओम का पिटफॉल क्या है? द एडवर्स साइड ऑफ इट, एवरीथिंग हैज अ प्रो एंड कॉन, राइट? तो पिटफॉल इज कि हरिओम बीइंग बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेटेड थ्रू दिस, हरिओम बीइंग बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेटेड, कहां गया? हरिओम बीइंग बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेटेड नीड्स टू कीप रॉ मटेरियल फॉर ईच स्टेज ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, रिजल्टिंग इन हाई इन्वेंट्री. अगर हाई इन्वेंट्री है तो ऑफ कोर्स आपकी वर्किंग कैपिटल प्रॉब्लम है. ऐसा फंसा हुआ है ना वो इन्वेंट्री में, प्लस हाई रिसीवेबल्स है. आप छोटी कंपनी हो, कस्टमर भी आपको टाइम पे पैसा नहीं देंगे, पैसा फंसा हुआ है. तो पैसा फंसा हुआ है वर्किंग कैपिटल में, बोथ इन द फॉर्म ऑफ इन्वेंट्री एंड रिसीवेबल्स. तो इट्स रिफ्लेक्टिंग इन इट्स अबिस्मल कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी. लेकिन अपोलो के साथ वो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, एंड अपोलो ऑफ कोर्स हैज डन अदर थिंग एज वेल व्हिच वी डोंट हैव द टाइम टू गेट इनटू राइट नाउ. Okay, so as a result, Apollo is enjoying a very good ROIC, very good ROIC. 24% is very good. And हरिओम ने एक चीज बहुत अच्छी कर ली, लेकिन दूसरी चीज इतनी खराब कर ली कि उसका ROIC, दे आर barely beating the cost of capital. समझ रहे हो गाइस? एक चीज अच्छा करने के चक्कर पे दूसरी चीज इतनी खराब मत करो. थोड़ी तो खराब होगी, लेकिन इतनी खराब मत करो कि रिटर्न इतना खराब हो जाए. ओके, दैट्स द लार्जर टेक अवे. ओके, ड्राइवर्स क्या है ऑफ मोट एपीएल अपोलो के लिए? कैपिटल लोकेशन, ये इतना चलो अभी नहीं जाते हैं. मोट लॉन्जेविटी क्या है फॉर अपोलो? बस ऑफ कोर्स स्ट्रॉन्ग वर्किंग कैपिटल मैनेजमेंट, एंड ऑफ कोर्स दे हैव अपोलो अब एक ब्रांड बन गया है यार. ओके, सो अगेन एंड दे आर आल्सो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग टू न्यू टेक. couple of other things I can speak to, but in the essence of time, I'm moving forward because जो bulk मेरे को बोलना था मैंने बोल दिया है. Okay, तो let me just move forward in the essence of time. Okay, एक चीज लास्ट चीज है आई थिंक ये टेक्नोलॉजी. दो यूएस की फर्म्स की बात करते हैं एंड देन आई हैव अ ट्रिविया फॉर यू गाइस. माइक्रोसॉफ्ट, नेटफ्लिक्स. Are you surprised looking at the low capital efficiency for Microsoft and Netflix? Are you surprised, guys, or are you not? I was surprised when I looked at
Not
it.
for Microsoft, but yeah, Netflix kind of.
See, क्या है Microsoft? क्या है? It has a company that's grown through acquisitions. They acquired LinkedIn. They acquired MuleSoft. When you grow through acquisitions, then you get a lot of goodwill on your books, right? If you get a lot of goodwill on your books, then of course it adversely impacts your capital efficiency. Something that we saw in the case of Zydus Wellness as well. But the thing that is working for Microsoft is Microsoft is able to price its products at a premium. Okay, so it's able to command a very high operating margin. That's why it is able to deliver a very high return on capital. Netflix has
Purchasing web series,
yeah, copyrights.
copyrights.
It has a lot of intangible. Netflix may not have a lot of goodwill, but it has a lot of intangible in terms of copyrights. अभी कल को वो धुरंधर मूवी दिखाएगा 2 महीने बाद, तो उसे कॉपीराइट खरीदना
Has to
पड़ेगा ना भाई.
purchase it, yeah.
हाँ,
True, true.
वो कहाँ जाएगा? बैलेंस शीट में जाएगा ना, एज इंटेंजिबल.
Yep.
उससे क्या होगा? कैपिटल एफिशिएंसी खराब हो जाएगा ना. सो
100%.
एनीवेज, तो हाई इन्वेस्टमेंट्स इन इंटेंजिबल्स गुडविल लीड्स टू हाई कैपिटल इंटेंसिटी बट हेल्दी मार्जिन्स. माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का मोड क्या है? हाई स्विचिंग कॉस्ट, प्रीमियम प्राइसिंग, आईपी, मार्केट लीडरशिप. लॉन्जेविटी क्या है? लॉन्जेविटी वेरी हाई. गूगल व्हेन गूगल केम टू द पिक्चर विद गूगल स्वीट, गूगल डॉक्यूमेंट, गूगल स्प्रेडशीट, they were not able to take any share away from Microsoft. That is the entrenched nature of Microsoft. Enterprise space में कल को you guys will work in a company, okay? Your company is not going to go Google Doc या Google Excel. They'll go for Microsoft का Excel because उसमें सिक्योरिटी मिलती है, सेफ होता है, वो established है. तो although Google document is free है, तब भी Google has not been able to take away share from Microsoft. Look at the business. Let's look at Zomato and then I have a trivia for you. Okay, and then I think we are done almost. So Zomato को देख लेते हैं. Zomato आई नो थोड़ा पॉजिटिव मार्जिन देखा होगा, लेकिन अगर एबिट की बात करें तो अभी भी नेगेटिव मार्जिन है. सी, मेरे को एक चीज बताओ. Zomato का आई एम जस्ट डिस्कसिंग द व्हाई इज Zomato delivered such high returns despite things looking so bad for Zomato. Why is Zomato delivering such high returns? Okay.
Growth potential.
Yeah, there's potential. People see कि margin expand कर लेगा as they scale. यहाँ पे लिखा है ना, as they scale, margin expand हो जाएगा. This is what people are counting on.
100%.
Do you guys know what is operating leverage? Okay, operating leverage का मतलब क्या होता है कि जैसे जैसे you scale ना, वैसे वैसे your खर्चा पानी, the cost that you incur, they do not increase in the same proportion. I'll repeat, जैसे जैसे you scale, your खर्चा पानी, the cost that you incur, they do not increase in the same proportion. उससे होता क्या है?
Something like economies of scale.
Yeah, exactly. It leads to margin expansion. Now answer me this. Okay, before my question. तो होता क्या है? Any company with high fixed cost and low variable cost, I'll repeat, मैं इसके बाद क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा. Any company with high fixed cost and low variable cost, okay, will have very high economies of scale or high operating leverage.
Understood.
So can you tell me out of Zomato and Netflix, I know दोनों अलग अलग spaces हैं, which company will, let's say, have a higher operating leverage? That's my trivia. बताओ.
Zomato.
क्यों Zomato क्यों होगा भाई?
I think it will be
Zomato operates in a duopoly, whereas Netflix has at least 5-6 major competitors.
देखो फ्रेमवर्क ये ऐसे सोचो.
Netflix.
बोलो, सॉरी.
I think it would be Netflix because like as soon as they increase the new subscriber base, they are not incurring extra cost. So they are purchasing a IP but then n
Absolutely.
number of people can watch that same
Absolutely.
thing.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. सी क्या है, मैंने क्या कहा था कि ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज के लिए ना, और ये सारी टेक्नोलॉजी धंधे ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज पे ही टिके हुए हैं। इन्वेस्टर्स डालते ही पैसा तब है जब वो देखते हैं कि ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज होगा कि नहीं। टेक्नोलॉजी बिजनेस की बात कर रहा हूं। अगर शार्क टैंक देखो, जो शार्क्स क्वेश्चन करते हैं, दे ट्राइंग टू असेस की ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज क्या है। क्या होता है ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज में कि भाई, अगर आपका फिक्स कॉस्ट ज्यादा है लेकिन वेरिएबल कॉस्ट कम है। वेरिएबल कॉस्ट का मतलब द कॉस्ट दैट यू इनकर इन सर्विंग एवरी एडिशनल कस्टमर। द कॉस्ट दैट यू इनकर इन सर्विंग एवरी एडिशनल कस्टमर, दैट इज वेरिएबल कॉस्ट। तो नेटफ्लिक्स से अगर हम वेरिएबल कॉस्ट की बात करें, वेरिएबल कॉस्ट इज प्रैक्टिकली जीरो। इफ नेटफ्लिक्स एज अ सब्सक्राइबर, Netflix does not incur any incremental cost in serving that additional customer, additional subscriber. लेकिन Zomato, when it adds a new customer, let's say if you guys are ordering from Zomato for the first time, Zomato will have to send someone and deliver food to your apartment or your homes, right? Or your hostel, right? So Zomato incurs a cost in serving that additional customer. That cost is absent for Netflix. So Zomato has high variable cost. Netflix has zero, virtually practically zero variable cost. तो होता क्या है, जब आपके वेरिएबल कॉस्ट जीरो हैं तो आपका ऑपरेटिंग लेवरेज बहुत ज्यादा हो जाता है। तो एज यू स्केल, आपका मार्जिन बहुत जल्दी एक्सपैंड करता है। होप यू गाइज अप्रिशिएटेड दैट। इस तरीके से सोचो टेक्नोलॉजी वाले धंधों को। ओके गाइज, आई एम मूविंग फॉरवर्ड इन द एसेंस ऑफ टाइम। ऑटोमोबाइल आई एम जस्ट स्किपिंग इट। ओके, ऑलराइट। एक चीज आई जस्ट वांट टू लीव यू गाइज विद अ फ्रेमवर्क। ठीक है, मैंने कहा था कि आई गिव यू अ मोड फ्रेमवर्क। तो ऑल द जो मोड ड्राइवर्स हमने अभी तक डिस्कस किए ना, I have listed them neatly in this slide. These are the leading indicators or the drivers of moat. And what I have in this slide is I also have a double click on these moat drivers. कि जब cost advantage होगा तो how a business could have cost advantage. This is not exhaustive, okay? But I have a double click on each of these moat drivers of moat, and then I have कि how would you measure the कि measure कैसे करोगे कि ये वो moat है कि नहीं। तो एनीवेज, लार्जर पॉइंट ये है कि whenever you guys analyze the business, okay, whenever you guys analyze the business, try to think, have this slide in your back pocket, have this slide in your back pocket, and try to analyze कि if any driver of moat is applicable in that business that you are analyzing. Try to see कि if any driver of moat is applicable in that business. हरिओम के केस में क्या हुआ, कॉस्ट एडवांटेज इज सर्टनली एप्लीकेबल। बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेटेड है, ये देखो बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेटेड है, लेकिन उससे हुआ क्या, उनका कैपिटल खराब हो गया। कैपिटल खराब हो गया तो उनका आरओआईसी खराब हो गया। तो कंडीशन क्या है, कंडीशन क्या है कि अगर किसी भी धंधे में ये ड्राइवर्स एप्लीकेबल हैं तो आइडियली आइडियली दे शुड लीड बोथ टू ग्रोथ एंड आरओआईसी। और नहीं है, एंड है, ग्रोथ एंड आरओआईसी ओवर लॉन्ग पीरियड्स ऑफ टाइम। लॉन्जेविटी केवल एक दो साल के लिए नहीं, ओवर अ प्रोलॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम। एक चीज अच्छे करने के चक्कर में दूसरी चीज खराब कम होनी चाहिए। होप यू गाइस अप्रिशिएट दैट। These are the
Understood.
leading indicators and these are the lagging. This is where the moat will reflect. But these are the drivers of moat. Sorry, someone was saying something. All right. एक चीज और,
Understood.
एक
Yeah.
चीज और, बस मैं एक चीज और बोलूंगा। मॉर्निंग स्टार एक बहुत पॉपुलर रिसर्च हाउस है इन द यूएस। इट्स वेरी वेरी पॉपुलर रिसर्च हाउस। एवरीवन आई थिंक लेवरेजेस मॉर्निंग स्टार। ओके, सो क्या इनकी बहुत एक अच्छी मेथोडोलॉजी है टू ascertain द डिग्री ऑफ मोट। हमने मोट की बात करी, हमने डिग्री ऑफ मोट की बात नहीं करी है। सी इट्स अ फंडामेंटल एनालिसिस एंड एक्सटेंसिव टॉपिक है। ओके, डिग्री ऑफ मोट की अगर हम बात करें कितना मोट है, तो ये लोग बात करते हैं मॉर्निंग स्टार, दे टॉक अबाउट लॉन्जेविटी। ये क्या बोलते हैं, कंपनीज विद अ नैरो मोट, कंपनीज विद अ नैरो मोट, दे विल डिलीवर एक्सेस रिटर्न्स फॉर एटलीस्ट 10 years। कि मिनिमम 10 years के लिए दे विल डिलीवर एक्सेस रिटर्न्स। एक्सेस रिटर्न्स मतलब आरओआईसी माइनस कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल, ये एक्सेस रिटर्न है। ओके, फॉर मिनिमम 10 years। लेकिन जो व्हाइट मोट कंपनीज हैं, they will deliver excess returns for a minimum period of 20 years, 20 years. So if Morningstar believes कि यार ये जो धंधा है ना, ये excess returns अगले 20 साल के लिए डिलीवर करेगा, that company they say is a wide moated company. Okay, लेकिन they also say कि there are a lot of companies which have no moat। बहुत कंपनीज हैं no moat, there is no moat at all। इन कंपनीज के लिए ना, जो रिटर्न ऑन कैपिटल होता है ना, it very quickly converges to ROC. मतलब दोनों इक्वल हो जाते हैं. अगर दोनों इक्वल हो गए, there is no excess return. Yeah, probably ROC is lower than cost of capital, so you are destroying value. Okay? तो इन कंपनीज के लिए कोई मोट नहीं है. So investing, that's what makes investing very hard, is because you got to foresee the future, कि future में ROC कैसे इवॉल्व होगा फ्यूचर में, अगले 10 साल के लिए, 20 साल के लिए. तो you got to make a judgment on the longevity. What is driving moat right now? What could drive moat in the future? And till what period it can drive moat? अगर आपने वो असेसमेंट कर लिया ना, okay, तब आप एक बहुत अच्छे फंडामेंटल इन्वेस्टर बन जाते हो. और वही मेथोडोलॉजी आप यूज करोगे वैल्यूएशन में, जो मैं अभी नहीं टच कर रहा हूं ऑफ कोर्स इस सेशन में, because this is what Morningstar uses to value companies as well, and this is what, of course, I also use for my own valuations and valuations in my company. Okay, all right, guys, this is what I had. Okay, I just wanted to leave you with ये मैंने यहाँ पे अटैच कर दिया है. डिफरेंट इंडस्ट्रीज में मैंने जो रिसर्च करा है वो यहाँ पे है, मैं ये भेज दूंगा तुम लोग को. एंड प्लस आई ऑल्सो वांटेड टू सम मार्केटिंग फ्रॉम माय साइड, of course. So I have a program in which I teach equity research and valuation very extensively. So I had a cohort which I completed last year. I have an ongoing cohort as well. So let me know if your friends or anyone is interested in joining the cohort program. Okay. So I have details here. And of course, I'm very intensive and so it's an intensive program. Of course, I'm very extensive as well. Okay. So I have some testimonials listed as well. Yeah. All right. So yeah, let me know. All right. And of course, let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So hope guys, this session was helpful.
100%.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, guys. I'll share this deck with you, and please एक चीज कर लो at least, if I may call, just for गुरु दक्षिणा या जो भी बोल सो, मेरा चैनल ज्वाइन कर लेना, ठीक है? और spread the word if you liked what I covered in the last 2 hours or so. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
कोई
Sure,
क्वेश्चन
sir.
है pressing की? नहीं?
I think we'll take some time to absorb the content. I think we have
अच्छा,
some
ज्यादा heavy हो
first
गया क्या?
No, not heavy at all, not at all.
Okay.
But I think
Okay.
we'll just go over it once, and I think Vardhaman will let you know if there are any
Okay.
questions.
Okay. But thank you for being very patient, guys. I know it was a lot in there that I tried to condense in 2 hours. I thought 1 hour 30 minutes, but ज़्यादा हो गया थोड़ा. Okay. So
No,
thank you for.
absolutely. I
Okay.
think we have a structure in our club of analysts and senior analysts. So the first yearites that come into the club
Okay.
spend a year learning about all this stuff. So I think it's important for them to get
Yeah.
acquainted with the
अच्छा.
basics of mental analysis. So I
अच्छा,
think
so
it was a good session for them.
yeah.
That you are the first exposure they have to actually analyzing an industry. So I think in that way it was a very fruitful session.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, I think everyone found it very helpful. If you guys have any questions, guys, just let Gautam sir know. Otherwise, we can conclude the session as well.
Okay. कोई बात नहीं, अगर अभी नहीं भी है तो मेरे को just write me an email. I'm very passionate about this subject. So I'm just more than happy to kind of clear any doubts that you guys have offline as well. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for being a very patient and understanding audience. All right. Speak to you.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.